Chapter 452. Xiaotang. In the depths of the dragon-seeking chamber of commerce, a young girl sprinted toward them. It was Pan Xiaridium, Pan Dingtian's daughter, and one of the main pillars of the dragon-seeking chamber of commerce. Xiaridium, how have you been? Jean Xiaotang asked her friend with a smile. Pan Xiaridium pouted. I'm fine. Why did you come to the dragon-seeking chamber of commerce? As she spoke, she recognized Lin Muyu and hurriedly bowed. Pan Xiaridium greets Commander Yu. You're welcome. Lin Muyu smiled. Pan Xiaridium then looked at Qin Yin and murmured, Who's this? She's a friend of mine. Lin Muyu covered for Qin Yin and said, We're here to buy a high-grade spiritual stone. Please show us the way, Miss Xiaridium. Sure, no problem. Follow me. Okay. After passing through a few corridors, the group arrived at the depths of the dragon-seeking chamber of commerce. In front of them were several spirit stone shops that were tightly guarded by armored soldiers. Indeed, although spirit stones were small, high-grade spirit stones were priceless. Therefore, there were mercenaries guarding the inside and outside of each spirit stone shop. Customers had to protect their spirit stones and their safety inside the spirit stone shop. Once they left the shop, they would have nothing to do with anyone. Miss Xiaridium, you're here? A chubby shopkeeper walked up and smiled. What can I do for you today? Pan Xiaridium smiled. Shopkeeper Ouyang, I brought a few friends here to pick out spiritual stones. May I know what kind of spiritual stones you have in your shop? Don't hide them. Haha, of course not. Shopkeeper Ouyang pointed to a row of locked cabinets behind him and said, Our shop has a total of 2 spirit stones over 10,000 years old, and 11 spirit stones over 7,000 years old. Which one would you like to have? What do spiritual stones that are over 10,000 years old look like? Lin Muyu asked. One is a fire-greedy wolf spiritual stone that is 1,400 years old, and the other is a light magic stone that is 12,000 years old. 12,000 light magic. Lin Muyu furrowed her brows and said, From what I know, light demons are a very rare type of spirit beast. Furthermore, light demons that are over 10,000 years old are even rarer, so they can't be weak. Who has the ability to kill a 2,000-year-old light demon? Shopkeeper Ouyang smiled. Lord Commander, you've misunderstood. This light demon wasn't killed by a human but died of natural causes. It said that it was struck by lightning deep in the mountains of Lingnan, and its corpse rotted for more than 4 years. In the end, it was discovered by a hunter who used a hunter's dagger to cut open its skull and found the spirit stone. That hunter didn't know how powerful the spirit stone was, and sold it for 1,000 Jinhun coins. Later, the profiteers of Lingnan raised the price to 50,000 Jinhun coins. After that, this brat's people bought it for 80,000 Jinhun coins and sent it to the dragon-seeking chamber of commerce. 80,000 Jinhun coins. Lin Muyu smiled. May I know how much this spirit stone is sold for? We've been traveling back and forth along the way. In addition, we've been targeted by mercenaries. Over 100 of our men have died for this spirit stone. We've also spent a lot of money on their pensions and family compensation, so... Shopkeeper Ouyang chuckled. Business is business. For Miss Pan Xiaridium's sake, I'll only sell it for 200,000 Jinhun coins. 200,000 Jinhun coins? Qin Yin frowned slightly. Why is it so expensive? Isn't the common price of a 2,000-year-old spirit stone around 50,000 Jinhun coins? Shopkeeper Ouyang cupped his fists and smiled. Miss, you might not know this, but light magic stones are very rare. They're rare in the first place, not to mention that they've been traveling back and forth from Lingnan. That's why the labor costs are so high. Everyone knows that Lingnan's Iha kingdom has sealed off the steel walls. Our people have to spend tens of thousands of Jinhun coins just to get a spirit stone. Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, 150,000 Jinhun coins is a suitable price. We'll have a deal as long as you agree. Well, Shopkeeper Ouyang seemed a little reluctant. Jean Xiaotang smiled faintly and said, One spirit stone for 150,000 is already a sky-high price. I hope Shopkeeper Ouyang won't push your luck. Otherwise, we will think that you are deliberately making things difficult for us. Why would I? Shopkeeper Ouyang replied respectfully. I'm just a businessman. I'm not that cunning. However, I'm afraid that I won't be able to recoup the cost of the 150,000 Jin Hun coins. You won't be able to recoup the cost. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows. Do you think I've never been to Iha Kingdom? Although their steel walls are sealed, ordinary merchants can pass through for a few hundred Jin Hun coins. Don't think that you can ask for an exorbitant price just because we need this spirit stone. Haha. That's absolutely not what I meant. Shopkeeper Ouyang was all smiles, but he refused to lower the price. Just then, a group of people came from afar. The leader was a man in luxurious brocade clothes. He looked to be in his 50s and his face was glowing. What's the matter? Why is it so noisy? Shopkeeper Ouyang hurriedly said respectfully, Ah, it's Boss Pan. The man was Pan Dingtian, the person in charge of the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce. Zyridium, what's the matter? Pan Dingtian frowned. Pan Zyridium said respectfully, Father, Shoutang brought 2 customers here to buy the 12,000 light beast spirit stone, but shopkeeper Ouyang asked for 200,000 Jin Hun coins. They're in a stalemate. Oh? Pan Dingtian's eyes fell on Lin Muyu's military rank. He cupped his fists and said respectfully, Commander, judging from your age, you must be Commander Yu, one of the 4 heroes of Lanyan? Lin Muyu nodded. Greetings, Boss Pan. Pan Dingtian said, Commander Yu wants this 12,000 light beast spirit stone? Yes, but 200,000 Jin Hun coins are too expensive. Your Chamber of Commerce is asking for a sky-high price. Ha ha. Pan Dingtian laughed. Cultivators have no time to cultivate due to the constant wars these past few years. Therefore, the quantity and quality of the spirit stones hunted have decreased significantly, which directly led to the inflated price. I hope, Commander, you can understand. The price of this spirit stone will probably not change. If, Commander, you can afford it, then buy it. If not, then forget it. He changed the topic and said with a smile, Commander Yu, as the favorite of Her Royal Highness and the Grand Deacon of the Holy Sanctum, you must not be short of money, right? The Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce was a business of Qihai City. Pan Dingtian must be Tang Lan's man. Even his words were tit-for-tat with Lin Muyu. Pan Zyridium frowned but did not say anything. Lin Muyu looked at Pan Dingtian and smiled faintly. Pan Dingtian? Are you against me? I wouldn't dare. Pan Dingtian cupped his fists. It's just that I'm a merchant. I hope, Commander, you can understand. If I was really against you, then I wouldn't have sold this spirit stone to you. After all, the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce and the Zine Flower Chamber of Commerce are like fire and water. We've already set a rule that we won't sell anything to the Zine Flower Chamber of Commerce. I only agreed to sell this spirit stone to you because of Commander Yu. The Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce sure has a bad temper. Qin Yin's eyes were filled with anger. Do you know that the Zine Flower Chamber of Commerce is the Empress's business? Did Duke Lan give you special permission to be so against me? Pan Dingtian smiled. Young lady, please calm down. I didn't mean it that way. At this moment, an extremely arrogant voice came from afar. Oh, isn't this Commander Yu? It was Tang Lu. Perhaps it was because Lin Muyu had blocked his view, but Tang Lu didn't see Qin Yin's appearance. He smiled domineeringly and said, What? Does Commander Yu still want something from our Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce? Haha, if that's the case, then this old friend of yours will have to give you some face. Pan Dingtian, listen carefully. No matter what Lin Muyu buys from the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce, the price will be doubled. This spirit stone is 400,000. Not a penny less. If he can't afford it, then don't buy it. Lin Muyu was so angry that her body trembled. The brilliant sun battle light slowly circulated around her body. What? Do you still dare to hit people? Tang Lu said with a look of disgust. Lanyan City has its own rules. If you dare to hit people in the Dragon Search Chamber of Commerce, I'm afraid that even the Empress won't be able to protect you. Is that so? Qin Yin's voice came from behind Lin Muyu. She slowly lifted the black cloak from her head, revealing a beautiful face. She looked at Tang Lu indifferently and said, "Sir Tang Lu, you are so awe-inspiring." Tang Lu suddenly trembled and hurriedly knelt on the ground. This humble subject Tang Lu greets the Empress. Pan Dingtian, Pan Ziyun, and Manager Ouyang came to their senses. All of their faces turned pale as they knelt on the ground. Together with the group of guards, they knelt and said in unison, "Greetings to the Empress." Qin Yin's gaze was cold as she said, "Tang Lu, you have repeatedly targeted Lin Muyu. Do you know your crime?" Tang Lu's body trembled. This humble subject doesn't know what crime I have committed?" Qin Yin said word by word, "Lin Muyu is the Empire's commander. She is a rank 1 general and is conferred the title of Marquis Yunling. She is the great deacon of the Divine Palace. She is many ranks higher than you. According to the Empire's laws, you should be beheaded for offending her. If it wasn't for giving face to Duke Lan, Commander Yu would have killed you long ago. Why don't you feel grateful?" Tang Lu was so scared that his face turned pale. "Your Highness, this humble subject is ignorant. I hope that your Highness can spare my life." Humph. Qin Yin's gaze was indifferent. When she thought about how the prefectures needed Tang Lan's support, she smiled slightly. "Forget it. Commander Yu won't lower himself to your level. Tang Lu, are you in charge of the Dragon-Seeking Merchant Association?" "Yes, Your Highness. Give me this 2000 light-type spirit stone as a token of your loyalty." "Yes, Your Highness. Someone, take out the spiritual stone and offer it to Her Highness." Tang Lu's face was deathly pale as he continued, "The entire Great Qin belongs to Your Highness, let alone a mere spiritual stone." Lin Muyu smiled and said softly, "The young master of the Seven Seas Tang sect, Tang Lu, has finally learned to be sensible." Chapter 453. Night Heart Nurturing Pavilion. Qin Yin started to refine the 2000 light attribute spirit stone, while Lin Muyu took out the treasure refining cauldron to help her refine it. When the cauldron's energy surrounded the surroundings, Qin Han couldn't help but say, "Yu's energy is very mysterious. This old man can't see through it at all." Lin Muyu smiled awkwardly and didn't explain. This kind of thing couldn't be explained. She couldn't tell Qin Han that this was a cheating device she brought from Earth. Qin Yin closed her eyes and slowly stepped on the floating energy of the God-binding chains. The true dragon God-binding chains seemed to have a life of its own as it greedily absorbed the spiritual energy from the spirit stone. On the other hand, Lin Muyu worked hard to use the treasure refining cauldron to grab the essence of the spirit stone and smelt it. About an hour later, Qin Yin let out a soft moan and slowly opened her beautiful eyes. Her clear eyes were full of vigor and an invisible domain aura spread out in the surroundings. Obviously, Qin Yin had stepped into the Saint Realm. Not bad. Qin Han nodded and smiled. Xiaoyin has stepped into the Saint Realm. How long has it been since the Empire's first sovereign to step into the Saint Realm? Qin Yin thought for a moment and said, 300 years. Good. Qin Han twirled his beard and smiled. My Qin clan finally has a successor. You are able to step into the Saint Realm at such a young age. I'm sure you will step into the God Realm in a few decades. The divine world will have another peerless expert. It was obvious that a god who possessed a first-grade god-binding chains was stronger than a god with a slightly inferior martial spirit. Qin Han looked at Qin Yin with doting eyes and said, Little Yin, you possess the god-binding shackles, and Ayu also possesses the god-binding shackles. After the two of you get married, the probability of your child comprehending the god-binding shackles will be very high. The ancestor is actually very much looking forward to how strong your child will be, and whether the pupil will surpass the teacher. Qin Yin couldn't help but blush, and she said shyly, Ancestor, what are you saying? Qin Han laughed. Man and woman should get married when they are of age. Isn't that the way of the ancient times? What's more, do you think Ancestor can't tell? You like you and you likes you, it's a match made in heaven. Why should we care about the opinions of the world? Humph, wait a little longer. After the demon race is eliminated and the divine empire is united, Ancestor will arrange the marriage for the two of you. After the marriage, Ancestor will probably step into the second god realm, and that will be the time I ascend. Ah! Lin Muyu was surprised and asked respectfully, Ancestor, why did you wait until you become a divine king before ascending? Qin Han pondered for a moment, then said, the divine world is not as righteous as people imagine it to be. On the contrary, the divine world is also a world where the strong bully the weak. The weak are prey to the strong. Weak gods are easily killed, and their godhoods are stolen and refined by other gods. Although the gods made an agreement several tens of thousands of years ago, stealing godhoods is still a common occurrence. Our ancestors knew that they could only be considered average in the divine world, so they bitterly cultivated in the human world, and only went to the divine world after becoming a divine king. Lin Muyu smiled. I think Ancestor should have noticed that there is a strand of divine power in my body. That's right. Qin Han said, I have never asked you, why do you have such a pure strand of divine power with only a mortal body? This is too impossible. That is because I met the 7 luminaries demon emperor by chance. This strand of divine power was given to me by him. Even the 7 luminaries' profound energy was imparted to me by him. The 7 luminaries demon emperor? It really is him. Qin Han's brows furrowed as he said, the 7 luminaries demon emperor was an ancient god emperor. His cultivation was shocking and he was unreasonable, so his reputation in the divine realm wasn't too good. However, his strength was too strong, so much so that he was the only one in the divine realm. Even Ancestor God Emperor Qin Yi couldn't do anything to him. After so many years, I don't know where Ancestor Qin Yi went. Lin Muyu immediately knelt on the ground and said, Ancestor, please forgive you's sins. Ah, what's wrong? Why are you bowing to me? Qin Han asked in surprise. Lin Muyu raised her head to look at him and said, I won't hide it from Ancestor. 200 years ago, I traveled to the Purgatory Plane because of a chance. I witnessed Ancestor Qin Yi leading hundreds of experts from the heaven realm and the human realm to kill the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Unfortunately, they failed. Qin Yi, many gods, and Saint Domain experts were killed by the 7 luminaries demon emperor. After that, the 7 luminaries demon emperor reversed time and brought me to the present day 204 years later. He was fated with me. It was also because of this that I obtained the spirit flower fragment of the god-binding chains that Ancestor Qin Yi left behind. I refined it and comprehended the god-binding chains. What? Qin Han took 2 steps back, his face full of grief. You? Is this true? Ancestor God Emperor Qin Yi is already dead? Yes. Lin Muyu said respectfully. I don't want to hide it from you. That's why I'm telling you this. I hope Ancestor can forgive me. Please don't blame the 7 luminaries demon emperor. He is actually not as bad as people think. He's just very strong and battle-hungry. Qin Han sighed and slumped into the chair. He said, Ancestor was the first expert of the Qin clan to ascend to the God Emperor realm. He was also one of the few experts in the human realm. He was extremely talented and was known as the strongest cultivator in the human realm in the last 10,000 years. I didn't expect him to have already fallen. Forget it. Forget it. The war in the divine realm has nothing to do with the human realm. Moreover, after Ancestor ascended, he almost cut off all contact with the Qin clan. After all, gods and human realm are separated. I naturally won't blame the 7 luminaries demon emperor. Lin Muyu said, in the future, when Ancestor meets the 7 luminaries demon emperor in the divine realm, try not to attack him if you can. If the 7 luminaries demon emperor makes things difficult for you, just say my name. I believe he will definitely let you off. Qin Han smiled. I understand. On the other hand, how's your martial soul fusion cultivation going? I've already entered the 2nd stage of the origin cultivation. Oh? Start cultivating then. Ancestor wants to see. Yes. Lin Muyu sat cross-legged while Qin Yin happily summoned the god-binding shackles. After breaking through to the saint realm, her god-binding shackles gained a power enhancement ability. Just like Lin Muyu's god-binding shackles, It could greatly increase the destructive power of its owner's martial arts. This was also the ability that the god-binding shackles needed the most. Therefore, Qin Yin was extremely happy. She tilted her head and looked at Lin Muyu seriously cultivating. Her beautiful face was filled with happiness and satisfaction. Swoosh! Lin Muyu's spiritual body quickly entered the EC and arrived at the depths of the EC in a few steps. In that chaotic space, there were thousands of stars in the sky, and their light shone on the ground, illuminating the god-binding shackles and the gourd vine. At this time, Lin Muyu was searching for the origin of the two martial souls. She floated to the ground and with a low shout, the two martial souls immediately changed under their master's command. The gourd vine quickly degenerated and turned into a young gourd. The 7 luminaries' celestial gourd also turned into a green gourd the size of a fist, swaying slowly in the breeze. The god-binding shackles turned into a golden rock that constantly glowed with golden light. This was the realm that Lin Muyu could reach at the moment. Qin Han's laughter came from the EC. Not bad, not bad. You are indeed talented. This old man spent almost half a year to make the two martial souls reach the end of War Realm, but you did it in half a month. Continue to work hard and find the origin of the 7 luminaries' celestial gourd and god-binding shackles. That way, you can reach a higher degree of fusion between the two martial souls. Degree of fusion. Lin Muyu was surprised. Qin Han nodded. That's right. There are many people in this world who have two martial souls. There are no less than 100 in the God world, and half of them can fuse their martial souls. The higher the degree of fusion between the two martial souls, the more power they can display. My ancestors' 8 Desolation Sword and God-binding shackles have a 70% degree of fusion. In the God world, I am already one of the best. But your martial soul seems to have a stronger dependence on your soul, and you have a chance to break through this degree of fusion. Work hard, and don't be lazy. You must find the origin of your martial soul. Yes, I understand. Thank you for your guidance, ancestor. Lin Muyu respectfully continued to cultivate. In the blink of an eye, it was already the next day. Although the forms of the two martial souls didn't change much, Lin Muyu could clearly feel that the strength of his soul had increased a lot during his cultivation. It was definitely a good thing for him to have a martial soul in his soul. He cultivated all the way until noon when someone knocked on his door. Qin Yin smiled. Should be lunch. Not necessarily. Lin Muyu closed his eyes. This aura is very strong and very familiar. It doesn't feel like the royal forest guard. Oh! When the servant opened the door, it was indeed Chu Chu. Lin Muyu was in the middle of cultivating, so he didn't open his eyes. However, he sensed Chu Chu flying over. He brought a plant to Lin Muyu's nose and smiled. Little Lin, can you smell what this is? Lin Muyu was stunned. 7-colored lotus. Oh, you can smell it. Chu Chu smiled in high spirits. Now, I can completely refine the medicinal essence of the 7-colored lotus. Open your eyes quickly after cultivating for 1 cycle. I'll show you. Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh when he heard him showing off in front of an expert. After 1 cycle, he opened his eyes and said, Chu, let's begin. Okay. Chu Chu bowed to Qin Han, who was behind him. Qin Han raised his hand and smiled. Great Minister of War, please do as you please. You is your disciple and my descendant. We don't have to stand on ceremony. Thank you, Your Majesty. Chu Chu cupped his hands again and placed the paper bag of the 7-colored lotus on the ground. With a slight shake of his hand, the aura of the condensed hand was emitted and quickly extracted the medicinal essence of the 7-colored lotus. At the same time, he opened his other hand and extracted the medicinal essence of a skeleton tree 3 meters away. Just like what Chu Chu said, although he wasn't very talented in alchemy, he was very diligent and obsessed with it. Coupled with his holy heaven realm cultivation, it wasn't difficult for him to become an outstanding alchemist. Now, I can refine the 3rd-grade dream of returning peak. Chu Chu smiled in high spirits. I'm getting closer to my dream of becoming an alchemist god. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. Chu Chu's pursuit of alchemy had indeed reached the stage of one must be crazy to become a god. Chapter 454. After refining a bit of dream back to the peak, Chu Chu continued to say excitedly, "Ayu, do you have any other good formulas that you can teach Grandpa? Don't hide it." Lin Muyu said, "Grandpa Chu Chu, don't tell me you really want to replace Big Sis Chu Yao as the spiritual medicine department's head deacon?" "Pa," Chu Chu said, "being a head deacon is such a boring thing. Only that little girl Chu Yao and that old man Lei Hong would be obsessed with it. I, Chu Chu, have no interest in that kind of thing. I just want to concoct medicine that no one in the world has ever thought of. I know you have a lot of recipes that you haven't taken out yet. Just tell me, no matter how expensive the ingredients are, I will scour the empire to find them." "Oh, all right then. Men, bring me a brush and paper." "Yes." A royal guard nodded respectfully. Not long after, the brush, ink, and paper were brought out. Lin Muyu spread the paper on the ground, then sat cross-legged and wrote down a new recipe for Chu Chu, Heaven Chong Powder LV8. Also known as Advanced Strength Potion, greatly increases physical strength. Fire Dragon Blood, Dragon Saliva Grass, Blood Ginseng, ratio 7:14, 16, chilled for an entire day, becomes a solid pill. Divine Illusion Potion LV9, confuses the opponent, causes hallucinations. Qilin Horn Powder, Southern Sky Bamboo Juice, ratio 4:6, refines with flames. Spirit Awakening Pill LV9, has a 30% chance of the user comprehending a martial spirit. Cheongchi Blood Merchant Grass, ratio 5:5, Fire Evaporation Method Divine Pill LV10, refines the physique, increases the power of the Godhead. Candle Dragon Horn Powder, Cheongchi Blood Heart Calming Grass, ratio 7:1, refines with flames. Chu Chu was dumbfounded by the sight. Even Qin Yin could not help but open her mouth wide. The recipes that Lin Muyu had written were all things that they had heard of, but they had never seen before. "It can't be." Chu Chu was stunned. "You even know how to concoct the legendary divine pill that has been lost for tens of thousands of years? As long as there's a formula for the herbs, there's nothing I can't do." Lin Muyu spread her arms and said helplessly, "It's just a pity that there's no chance to see a beast like the Torch Dragon, and Cheongchi is also an ancient divine beast. There's no way to get the herbs, so it's useless even if we know the method of refinement." Chu Chu quickly put away the paper and held it in his hands as if he was afraid to destroy it. He said, "I was fortunate enough to see Cheongchi once before. It was just that my cultivation wasn't high enough that I didn't dare to challenge Cheongchi. But now I can. Will this spirit awakening pill be useful?" "Of course it is useful." Lin Muyu nodded and said, "Grandpa Chu Chu, think about it. How many descendants of famous generals in the empire didn't comprehend their ancestors' martial spirits? There are too many. The spirit awakening pill has a high chance of awakening the sleeping martial spirits in their bodies. It's effective even after they've reached adulthood. Moreover, for those without martial spirits who have no hope of cultivating martial arts, the spirit awakening pill is also a treasure. This is a chance for them to change the world and reach the peak of their lives." "That's great." Chu Chu quickly folded the paper and put it into his space bag. He said with a smile, "Your Highness, this old subject is going to enter the deep mountains and forests to train again. Lanyan City will be temporarily handed over to Emperor Qinhan and you to guard. Lord Chu Chu is going to look for new herbs again?" Qin Yin blinked and asked. "Yes." Chu Chu said in a low voice, "This is this old subject's lifelong pursuit." Qin Yin couldn't help but smile. She stuck out her round breasts and said with a smile, "Chu Chu was originally a person outside the realm. Xiao Yin left Chu Chu in Zetian Palace as the Minister of War because of her own selfish desires. Now that the situation in Lanyan City has been settled, Lord Chu Chu won't be wronged anymore. You can go wherever you want. With the ancestors guarding Lanyan City, I believe those who are not loyal will be much more restrained. This old subject thinks so too. Thank you for your forgiveness, Your Highness. Chu Chu bowed respectfully again. He then stood up and patted Lin Muyu's shoulder. He said, Grandpa is going out for a while. I'll come back to see you in at least 1 or 2 months. At most half a year. Lin Muyu nodded. Be careful, Grandpa. I hope you can step into the divine state as soon as possible. Also, if you find Xiongqi's blood but don't have the ability to refine it into the awakening pill, remember to bring it back. I can. Chu Chu couldn't help but laugh. Brat, you look down on Grandpa too much. All right, I'm leaving. Wait for my good news. By the way, if I refine the awakening pill, can I ask that little girl Chu Yao to certify me as a drug god? No. Lin Muyu shook her head. The awakening pill is a level 9 medicine. You can only be certified as a drug king if you refine a 2nd grade awakening pill. You can only be certified as a drug god if you refine a level 10 2nd grade medicine. Otherwise, Grandpa, do you think drug gods are so common? Oh my God! Chu Chu cupped his hands and said, Time waits for no man. I won't talk to you anymore. I'm leaving now. Goodbye. Lin Muyu and Qin Yin couldn't help but smile at the same time as they watched Chu Chu leave Yangxin Pavilion. The next day, Qin Yin announced the prefectural system and world subjugation. Even though Tang Lan and Su Muyun were slightly unwilling, Qin Yin used the title of king to shut their mouths. One was the king of Yunzhong while the other was the king of the 7 seas. This made them lose their control over the various provinces. In order to compensate Tang Lan, Qin Yin reconferred nobility and promoted Tang Lu and Tang Tian to Marquis Lingbei and Marquis Lingxi respectively. On the same day, over 1,000 scrolls of the Empress's imperial edict were escorted by specially assigned winged cavalry to the various officials in the 7 Seas Province, Yunzhong Province, Lingbei Province, Cangnan Province, Earthstar Province, and Tianshu Province. The edict was immediately implemented throughout the entire nation. The various holy temples would also begin to recruit cultivators to form their own armies and encourage cultivators to become soldiers of the empire. This was the essence of world subjugation. In the afternoon, a column of heavy cavalry escorted the demon race's princess Feng Jing to the steel protective wall. Zhang Yifan personally led the God Might Battalion to negotiate for peace, while Lin Muyu led 10,000 cavalrymen from the Longdan army camp to accompany and protect them. Together with the 10,000 imperial guards led by Zhang Wei, the military strength was sufficient. This round trip took at least a month. Every time Lin Muyu rode on a warhorse, she would enter a sleeping cultivation state and continuously refine the origin of the 2 types of martial souls. Wei Chou, Situ San, Situ Shui, and the rest guarded her, so she was safe. 10 days later, in the depths of Lin Muyu's Hai, the 7 luminaries' holy gourd was no longer the 7 luminaries' holy gourd. What Lin Muyu saw was only a tender green sprout growing in the soil, and the god-binding chains were no longer golden chains, but a piece of ore with a faint golden luster. Is this the origin? Lin Muyu was a little surprised. However, when he thought of what Qin Han said about the degree of fusion between martial souls, Lin Muyu didn't dare to slack off. He could faintly feel that this sprout still wasn't the origin of the 7 luminaries' holy gourd. After all, the sprout was also born from something else. Therefore, he continued to cultivate. The negotiation outside the steel wall went very smoothly. The Empire handed over Feng Jing, and the Devil Race compensated the Empire with 100 carts of Shindu coins and 1 cart of magic crystal coins, according to the Empress's orders before they left. Everything that the Devil Race compensated would belong to Lin Muyu. Therefore, Zhang Yifan didn't care too much about it. It seemed that after returning to the Empire, Zhang Yifan's desire for power was getting more and more indifferent, and it was precisely because of this that he was valued by the Empress. In the evening, carts of Shindu coins were transported into the steel wall. Lin Muyu ordered that they set off the next day to transport the coins back to Lanyan City. Shindu coins couldn't be circulated in the Empire, since they were the Devil Race's currency after all. However, these Shindu coins were made of gold, so they could be melted down and remade into genieing coins. As for the magic crystal coins, Lin Muyu held a magic crystal coin under the light of the setting sun. She could faintly feel the surging power coming from it. This wasn't an ordinary stone, but a form of energy. Suddenly, Lin Muyu had the idea of pocketing all of these magic crystal coins for himself. However, when he thought about it, he was the commander of the empire and one of the feudal vassals, so he gave up on this idea. He couldn't ruin his character at a time like this. The next day, he returned to the city and continued to cultivate on the way back. He used the mental cultivation method taught by Qin Han to catalyze his martial soul to return to its original state. This process was extremely slow and torturous. It wasn't until the day before they arrived at Lanyan City that there was finally some progress. In the depths of Yihai, the 7 luminaries' holy gourd sprout had disappeared. When Lin Muyu dug up the soil, she saw a seed that glowed with a faint golden light. It was a god's seed. This 7 luminaries' holy gourd was indeed extraordinary. It wasn't as simple as a green gourd. Lin Muyu was ecstatic. The next morning, the god-binding chain returned to its original state as well. It looked like an unpolished stone, gray and dull. When Lin Muyu put the god seed and the unpolished stone together, she could faintly feel a sense of appreciation between the two martial souls. It was as if both martial souls were saying to each other, "So you were once so weak." After nearly a month, the martial soul fusion's second heavenly realm was finally completed. Next, the cultivation of the third heavenly realm began. When Lin Muyu entered Yihai again, the two martial souls had been restored to the 9th level. The 7 luminaries' holy gourd was lush and the starlight god-binding chain was shining with a golden light. This time, she needed to see what these two martial souls looked like in a more perfect state. At night, Qin Yin hosted a banquet in Zetian Palace to entertain Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Xiang Yu, Tang Lan, Su Muyun, Su Yu, Yao Yuan, and other important officials. At the same time, after the implementation of the state system, the first batch of taxes for the first year had arrived in Lanyan City. The Minister of Revenue was so happy that his old face was flushed with happiness. But soon after, Qin Yin ordered the establishment of a new supervisory department in the Fire Sparrow Department, which was to supervise the details of the revenue and expenditure of the Ministry of Revenue, the Ministry of War, the Ministry of Works, and so on. In this way, no matter how rich Lanyan City was, only the royal family was rich. The ministers who accepted bribes would be severely punished, and they could only obediently serve the country. After the banquet, Lin Muyu returned to the Holy Palace. After resting for a day, she came to Yangxin Pavilion again to receive Qin Han's teachings. Qin Han, the emperor of the empire, was second only to Qin Yi in terms of talent. He had indeed helped Lin Muyu and Qin Yin a lot in their cultivation. This could be seen from Lin Muyu's cultivation of martial soul fusion and Qin Yin's stepping into the saint realm. Qin Yin even sent a letter to invite Tang Xiaoxi back to the imperial capital to receive Qin Han's teachings. Chapter 455. In the blink of an eye, another 3 months had passed. Lin Muyu had been learning martial soul fusion from Qin Han for almost half a year, and she had finally seen the ultimate form of the 7 luminaries' holy gourd and god-binding chains. Generally speaking, the ultimate form of the two martial souls could be described with 3 words: bigger, brighter, and stronger. Buzz, buzz, buzz. In the depths of Yihai, a golden holy gourd soared into the sky. The walls of the gourd were covered with obscure golden runes, as if they were carved by the gods. As the gourd spun, it created a fierce storm, and the stars in the sky twisted slightly as if they were being pulled by the gourd. The 7 luminaries' holy gourd looked like it was going to devour the entire world. This kind of aura was not something a normal martial soul could have. The starry god-binding chains were not inferior to the 7 luminaries' holy gourd at all. The 15 golden chains fused together, looking exquisite and majestic. The chains were interlocked in pairs, forming the Kuei pattern of the Eastern pattern. A majestic power soared into the sky, as if it was going to pierce through the sky. The majestic power was greatly enhanced because of the simple and unadorned pattern. Phew! Lin Muyu took a deep breath and slowly opened her eyes. She felt comfortable all over, and the compatibility between the two martial souls, body, and soul seemed to have deepened due to her insight. Qin Han squinted his eyes and smiled. Not bad. The next step is the real martial soul fusion. The ancestor hasn't taught me yet. Lin Muyu smiled. Qin Han also smiled. This is not something I can teach you. Do you know that when the martial souls fuse with the master soul, they know how to protect their master? As long as the master's life is in danger, the two martial souls will automatically protect their master. When they can't protect their master with their own strength, they will look for a stronger power, and that is the fusion. The first fusion will be extremely dangerous, but this is cultivation. If you don't go through life and death situations, how can you obtain the power of the heavens and earth? At the side, Tang Xiaoxi blinked. Does this mean that Ayu is going to challenge an existence that far surpasses her? Yes. Qin Han nodded and said, it's time for the three of you to go out and experience the world and challenge your own limits. Little Yin's Dragon Slayer Technique's 6th stage, Azure Dragon Break, has been unable to comprehend for a long time. This should be related to the breakthrough of your martial spirit. You are the same as Ayu. You need to experience a life and death situation before you can awaken the power of the Azure Dragon within the true Dragon God binding chains. As for Little Shi, your Fire Fox martial spirit has already changed because of your physique. Actually, Little Shi, you should be the one with the most potential among the three of you, and also the one with the highest strength. The Fire Fox is a second-class martial spirit, but only a one-tailed Fire Fox is a second-class martial spirit. Ah! Tang Xiaoxi's face was full of surprise and joy. Ancestor, please enlighten me. Qin Han said, I once ascended from the heaven realm, and I met a divine king-level female cultivator there. Her surname is also Tang, and her martial soul is also a fire fox, but it's a 5-tailed fire fox, and its strength is far greater than your fire fox. Cultivate well, and when you are forced to use more strength to protect the person you love, that will be the time for your fire fox to evolve. Also, the Fire God Seal is an extremely powerful martial art. Cultivate it well, and it will naturally help you ascend to become a god. Tang Xiaoxi knelt on the ground, opened her beautiful eyes and said, Thank you, ancestor. Xiao Shi will definitely remember this. Okay, you guys go. I will also go into seclusion for 2 to 3 months. Yes. Qini nodded. I will send someone to deliver meals regularly. Okay, remember to ask them to deliver the braised lion's head dish once every 3 days. Ancestor likes it. Okay. The next day, Zetian Hall. What, your highness is going out to cultivate? Feng Jixing was stunned. Yes. Qinin smiled, her eyes like water. Since it's to spread martial arts to the world, as the Empress, I naturally have to pursue a stronger realm. After stepping into the Saint Realm, I feel that there is still room for further improvement, so I will be going out to cultivate with Commander Yu and Princess Shi. Su Muyun cupped his hands and said, Your Highness, as the ruler of the country, what will happen to the political and military affairs of Lanyan City when you leave? Qin Yin smiled and said, Therefore, I will have to trouble Grandfather, the 7 Sea Kings and General Feng. While I am cultivating, Grandfather and the 7 Sea Kings will be in charge of all the political affairs of the Empire, and General Feng will be in charge of all the military affairs. If there is any problem that cannot be resolved, 2 of the 3 of us will be able to make a decision. If it's not very urgent, just wait for my return. Tang Lan asked, How long will your highness be on this patrol? And how many people will you bring? I will be back in 2 to 3 months. I will not bring any people, just the 3 of us. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and said, Grandpa, you don't have to worry. Xiaoxi and Mumu are already at the sanctuary realm. With me, we will be invincible no matter if we encounter devils or high-level spirit beasts. Tang Lan's eyes were filled with love as he said, Xiao Shi, you have just returned to Lanyan City, and now you have to go out again. I really can't bear to. Tang Xiaoxi smiled and went forward to hold Tang Lan's arm, saying, Grandfather, when Xiaoxi comes back from cultivation, I will accompany you. I think Grandfather also hopes that our Tang family will have a God state expert, right? Of course. Tang Lan then nodded and said, Your Highness and Shao she can rest assured and cultivate. I will discuss all the important matters of the empire with King Yunzhong and Marquis Yunzhong. Well, that's good. Qin Yin said again. The matter of the three of us going out to cultivate must be kept a secret. If anyone dares to leak this matter, he will be beheaded immediately. All the officials knelt together and said, We will obey the imperial edict. The afternoon sun was very warm. It was autumn, and the maple leaves were like fire everywhere in Lanyan City. It was indescribably beautiful. Lin Muyu had changed into a green outfit and a light gray cloak. She had a long sword strapped to her back and was leading the Snowstrider warhorse. She looked not much different from the mercenaries and swordsmen. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi had also changed out of their luxurious empress and princess dresses. Qin Yin was wearing a sky blue dress, and Tang Xiaoxi was wearing a beautiful red and white dress. Both of them were wearing silver cloaks, and they looked no different from the noble ladies of the empire. Moreover, such ladies could be seen everywhere in Lanyan City. After all, the empire advocated martial arts, and the ladies of the major mansions practiced martial arts more or less. Where are we going? The dragon-seeking forest? Tang Xiaoxi asked. Lin Muyu said casually, Up to you. I'm fine with anywhere. Qin Yin, on the other hand, was in high spirits and extremely charming. The moment she walked out of Zetian Palace Hall, she was like a bird that had flown out of its cage. This kind of life was what she loved. As for sitting on the throne of Zetian Palace Hall, it was just because of her family's responsibility and to live up to the expectations of the people. Tang Xiaoxi said, There's a tavern in front. Let's go in and have a drink and ask about the recent rumors. What do you think? Sure. Let's go. When they arrived at the tavern, they tied up the warhorses and entered together. After ordering 3 cups of rice wine, they sat at a table near the window. Although it was afternoon, the tavern was almost packed with people. There were merchants, mercenaries, and cultivators everywhere. There were even quite a few staff members of the sanctum drinking and having fun here. As the Grand Deacon of the sanctum, Lin Muyu had no choice. After all, most cultivators were crude people who did not stick to a single pattern. If they were not allowed to drink, they might as well be killed. Take Zhang Wei, for example. If he did not drink for 2 days, the strength of his douqi would drop by half. They were more reliant on wine than on rice and steamed buns. Tang Xiaoxi stood up and gracefully walked to the side of the table. She smiled at the waiter and said, Waiter, are there any interesting rumors in the Jianghu recently? Oh? The waiter looked at the absolute beauty in front of him and his eyes immediately lit up. He said, This beautiful lady? Are you looking for first-class news or second-class news? There are first-class and second-class news? What's the difference? Tang Xiaoxi asked in astonishment. The waiter smiled. First-class news costs 1 Jin Yin coin, and second-class news costs 1 silver coin. Moreover, these are all rumors I've heard. If I tell others, I might be killed. So, please understand, young lady. All right? Tang Xiaoxi took out a Jinin coin and flicked it on the table. As the gold coins rolled, she smiled and said, All right, tell me a piece of breaking news right now. If it's not enough, I'll smash your tavern. The waiter was stunned. He quickly grabbed the Jinin coin and said with a smile, Recently, I heard that the vice commander of the Imperial Army, Xiahou Sang, has taken in another concubine. The dowry is as high as 300 Jinin coins. The commander of the Imperial Army is really rich. What kind of news is this? Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face was full of murderous intent. She slammed the table and said, Return my Jinin coins, or I'll smash your tavern. The waiter was startled. The aura that Tang Xiaoxi exuded almost made him kneel. As a veteran, he naturally knew that this young lady in front of him was definitely not someone to be trifled with. His voice even trembled a little. This lowly one will change the news for you right now. Recently, I heard that there's an extremely powerful spiritual energy enshrouding the Cloud Ridge in the east of Heaven's Pivot Province. Many people believe that a divine weapon is about to appear there. So many cultivators and mercenaries have already rushed to the Cloud Ridge. However, The Cloud Ridge is very close to the Tongtian province where the demon race resides. This will definitely cause chaos in the cultivation world. Oh, this news has another use. Tang Xiaoxi narrowed her eyes and threw another Jin coin on the table. She smiled and said, "This is your reward. Many thanks." The waiter's face was pale. He grabbed the Jin coin with lingering fear. Tang Xiaoxi turned around and sat next to Qin Yin. She smiled and said, "Let's go to the Cloud Ridge in Heaven's Pivot Province. I heard that it's very lively there." "Oh, it's quite far," Lin Muyu said. "I don't mind." Tang Xiaoxi's attitude was not very proper. "Anyway, we'll just be sightseeing along the way." Qin Yin couldn't help but smile. "Then let's go to the Cloud Ridge." Chapter 456. In Lingnan, the steel wall stood like a giant in the autumn wind. In the distance, the red maple trees were like fire. The maple leaves fluttered in the wind, reaching dozens of meters high. It was a beautiful sight, but also a bit bleak. On top of the wall, Qin Yi, the commander-in-chief of Iha country, was wearing a dragon robe. He narrowed his eyes at the endless maple leaves and said, "Have you decided, General Long?" "Yes." Beside him, Long Qianlin, who was wearing a marshal's military uniform, pointed at the steel wall and said, "The craftsmen of Lingnan have forged these armored vehicles. Each of them weighs several thousand pounds and is propelled by 10 people hiding inside. The armored vehicles are surrounded by steel thorns. As long as we are on flat ground, the armor demons will never be able to compete with us." "How many of these armored vehicles do you have?" "We need too much iron, so we only have 300 for now, but there will be more and more. I plan to counterattack 3 days later. We will use the cavalry to lure the main force of the demon race to a decisive battle, and then use the armored vehicles to defend against the enemy. We will kill all the demons south of the Qinling Mountains and recapture the territory of Iha country in the north of the steel wall." "Yes." Qin Yi nodded and said, "Since I have already handed over the military power of the Iha nation to Commander Long, then you will have the final say in the military matters. However, isn't it a little too hasty to start the attack in 3 days?" Long Qianlin cupped his hands and said respectfully, "General, the First Corps of the Demon Race fought against the Empire in Songnan Province. 20,000 of them were beheaded by Feng Jixing with the Chenquan battle formation, and 60,000 armor demons were drowned by Lin Muyu. Now the First Corps of the Demon Race has been completely destroyed. Lei Chong has also led the main force of the Second Corps back to Lingdong Province. At this time, there are no more than 20,000 Demon Race troops left in Iha country's territory. If we don't take advantage of the situation to counterattack, I'm afraid we will lose the opportunity." "I understand." Qin Yi smiled faintly and said, "White drill arrow, how's the research going?" Long Qianlin furrowed his brows and said, "It's said that most of the white diamond arrowheads in the Iha nation were forged by Lin Muyu using a mysterious method. The arrowheads are extremely sharp and can pierce through battle armor. Even though we obtained a lot of white diamond arrowheads during the war, the craftsmen of the Southridge region have never been able to match Lin Muyu's forging standards. However, the white diamond arrowheads we forged using the fire refinement method are also quite good. They can pierce through steel armor and the hard armor of the armored demons. We now have over 500,000 white diamond arrowheads, and the iron ore in the Southridge region is abundant, so I'm sure it won't be too much of a problem for us to repel the demons with these arrows." "All right," Qin Yi smiled and said, "Also, the arrow box. Those sharp weapons that can shoot arrows quickly, can we forge them?" Long Qianlin said with some difficulty, "Commander, the arrow chests are manufactured by the Imperial Armament Department of the Ministry of Works. We can't find the blueprints at all. Moreover, the people we sent to Lanyan City to search for information also didn't bring back enough information. I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for Lingnan to develop the arrow chests in a short time." Got it." Qin Yi stroked his beard and said, "I heard that Zhang Yifan has returned to Lanyan City." "Humph, that little old man." Qin Yi's eyes were cold as he looked in the direction of Lanyan City and said, Zhang Yifan, the so-called Empire's god of war? Back then we made a secret agreement to work together. But now, because of Qin Jin, he betrayed me. How hateful. Because of Qin Jin? Long Qianlin was surprised. Qin Yi said calmly, "That's right. Before the Iha nation was founded, a lot of the information about Lanyan City was given to me by Zhang Yifan. Moreover, I made a secret agreement with him that once the Iha nation was founded, I would confer him the title of king. Unfortunately, when I was determined to kill Qin Jin, Zhang Yifan, that two-faced villain, vehemently opposed it. After I killed Qin Jin, Zhang Yifan never contacted the Iha nation again. Perhaps, in Zhang Yifan's heart, Qin Jin is still a saint." Long Qianlin said with a sigh. "A saint?" Qin Yi couldn't help but sneer. If Qin Jin was a saint, he wouldn't have lost half of his empire so easily, and he definitely wouldn't have allowed himself to die at the fairy lake. Long Qianlin said calmly, "The transportation between Lingnan and Lingbei is inconvenient. The division between the two regions was already very obvious more than 100 years ago. The Lingnan vassals are all resentful towards the Lingbei imperial family, and this resentment has been passed down from generation to generation. It has already been like this since Qin Jin ascended to the throne. I'm afraid this isn't something he can control. However, this general believes that an emperor who can be protected by someone like Zhang Yifan should be considered a wise emperor, right? You've seen it for yourself. After Lanyan City was breached, Chu Chu, Lei Hong, Yao Yuan, Du Hai, and the others protected Qin Yin with their lives, not to mention the famous 4 generals of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. These people were all people that Qin Jin won over. Although Qin Jin is dead, he left behind so many loyal generals and ministers for his daughter. Do you still think that Qin Jin is a fatuous emperor? There's no need to say anything more." Qin Yi was a little angry. He stared coldly at Long Qianlin and said, "General Long, don't forget that Qin Jin is the murderer who killed your parents. Are you still going to speak up for him?" Long Qianlin took several steps back respectfully and cupped his fists. "Please have faith in Qianlin, great commander. I'm only standing here because you've given me a chance to kill my enemy with my own hands." Then, Qin Yi narrowed his eyes and asked meaningfully, "Now that your enemy, Qin Jin, is dead, are you no longer loyal to me?" "Of course not," Long Qianlin said calmly. "Before the demon race is exterminated, Long Qianlin will pledge his loyalty to the Iha kingdom. Then, what happens after the demon race is exterminated?" "After that," Long Qianlin's white cloak swayed gently as he murmured, "My hands are already stained with the blood of the people of the Empire. I've long grown tired of the civil war between humans. After the demon race is defeated, Qianlin will naturally disarm and return to the countryside. I only wish to live out my life in peace. I also hope that you can grant this general's request, great commander." "Disarm and return to the countryside?" Qin Yi glanced at him and couldn't help but laugh. "Qianlin, oh Qianlin, you've always been smart, but you've been muddle-headed for a moment. Back then, you led the army to surround Lanyan City, annihilated the Flying Mount camp, killed Chu Huayin, forced Jinxiang to her death, and indirectly caused Qin Lei's death. Do you think Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, and Qin Yan will let you go? Do you think Zhen Yifan and Jinfang will let you go? Disarming and returning to the countryside is easy to say but difficult to do." "Great commander." Long Qianlin hesitated to speak. Qin Yi waved his sleeve slightly and said, "Let's talk about the future in the future. If the Empire really wants to find trouble with you for a personal grudge, the million-strong army of the Iha kingdom will be at your disposal at any time. As for you, you can stay in the 7 world palaces and enjoy your life like Senior Celestial Luolan." "Luolan?" Long Qianlin murmured. "How long has it been since Senior Celestial Luolan has appeared? After the Battle of Lanyan City, Senior Celestial Luolan has never seen me again. She has been staying in the 7 world palaces to cultivate on her own and only sent her disciples to assist in the battle. However, Senior Celestial Luolan's disciples have been killed by Lin Muyu one after another. I'm afraid Senior Celestial Luolan is already furious. But Lanyan City is guarded by Qin Han, who has the strength of a senior celestial. Qin Han possesses the God-binding chains and the 8 Desolation sword, 2 first-grade martial souls. In a battle of peak strength, the Iha kingdom is already at a disadvantage. That's right. Qin nodded and said, fortunately, as a divine capital, he doesn't care about worldly affairs. That Qin Han is staying in Lanyan City only so that Qin Yin can cultivate. He won't directly attack the Iha kingdom, so we don't have to worry too much. There's one more thing, Great Commander. What is it? This year, it has rained continuously in Lingnan, causing quite a lot of floods. Many counties have not harvested a single grain. On top of that, after we collected a large amount of military rations, many of the commoners have run out of rations. At this time, we still have to collect autumn rations in exchange for Jinan coins to supply to the 7 world palaces. The commoners are already complaining. Great Commander, please understand, we can't lose the people's hearts. Qin Yi frowned. It's not that I haven't considered this matter, but this is the agreement I made with Senior Celestial Luolan. I can't go back on it. How about this pass down my order, have the supplies for the marquises, earls, marshals, and generals' residences in the Iha kingdom, and take half of the Jinan coins from my residence. We can live a hard life, but we can't break our promise to the 7 world palaces. Yes, I understand. On the 15th day of the 10th lunar month in the year 7735 of the Empire, the Iha kingdom opened the gates of the steel protective wall. Nearly 300,000 troops poured out in full force. Using the advantage of armored vehicles and white drill arrows, they easily defeated the 20,000 demon guards and regained control of the Qinling Mountains in Lingnan Province and Lingkong Province. At this point, half of the sovereignty of the Qinling Mountains was in the hands of the Empire, while the other half was in the hands of the Iha kingdom. Several days later, Long Qinlin was conferred the title of Marquis Jinan by Qin Yi for his meritorious service in the Qinling Mountains. At this point, Long Qinlin's status in the Iha kingdom had already surpassed Ji Yao, Man Ning, and Ding Shi. He had become the most powerful person in the military and political power. In the Battle of the Wildfire Plains, Lin Muyu killed 60,000 armored demons. This merit not only gave the Empire a chance to breathe, but also improved Long Qinlin's status in the Iha kingdom. Just as Feng Jixing had said, the Battle of the Wildfire Plains was a crucial battle in the several years of tug-of-war between humans and demons. Without the Battle of the Wildfire Plains, the fate of the continent would have been rewritten. Pitter-patter-patter. In the late autumn, the heavy rain passed through the forest and hit the leaves, making pitter-patter sounds. Under a lush bamboo forest, Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi galloped past. They were all wearing straw raincoats. Even so, the rain still splashed on their faces. Originally, Lin Muyu could use the wall of the calabash as an umbrella, but he didn't do so. After all, he was going out for cultivation this time, and he had to preserve his physical strength. This jungle was full of spirit beasts, bandits, and mercenaries. Only by preserving his physical strength could he survive better. Suddenly, Tang Xiaoxi raised her hand and pointed to the distance in the rain curtain, saying, "Look, there's an inn over there. Let's rest there for a night and continue our journey tomorrow when the rain stops. How about it?" Okay. Lin Muyu felt sorry for Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, so he turned around and urged the horse to gallop away. Chapter 457. In the middle of the night, the inn was actually very lively. It was almost overcrowded, so much so that Lin Muyu had to spend 3 Jinan coins to get 2 empty rooms. After carefully instructing the waiter to feed the horses, Lin Muyu took off her straw cape and walked into the inn's lobby with the 2 beautiful women. The moment they stepped into the lobby, they could feel the evil around them. There were 4 people sitting at a table on the left, all dressed in mercenary attire. Their battle axes and broadswords were placed on the table. The mercenaries were burly, and there were scars on their faces and arms. It was obvious that they lived a life of blood on the edge of a knife. When Lin Muyu walked in with Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi, the mercenaries immediately looked over. Their gazes fell on the two beautiful women's impressive figures and beautiful faces, and they immediately burst into laughter. Lin Muyu frowned and ignored the group of people. These mercenaries were only at the human realm. To put it bluntly, they were only slightly stronger than ordinary people. They did not even know how to use their spiritual senses to sense the strength of their opponent's aura. However, in the corner of the inn, a swordsman who was drinking by himself surprised Lin Muyu. This person had a thin sword on the table and was drinking one cup after another. He did not look at her at all. Using the spirit meridian technique, Lin Muyu quickly sensed that this person's body did not have essential qi or battle qi. Instead, it was a rather violent aura, and it was very vigorous. Who could it be? Was it a demon? His head was lowered, and Lin Muyu could not see his eyes, so she could not be sure. After finding an empty table and sitting down, Lin Muyu ordered, "Waiter, give me a pot of wine, a few of your signature dishes, and a plate of steamed buns. That's all." "All right, please wait for a moment, dear customer." After Qin Yin sat down, she took off her cloak and untied her hair. Her long hair cascaded down her shoulders like a waterfall. She smiled and said, "We are very close to Divine Shadow City. We are at most 2 days away from the Cloud Ridge. I didn't expect us to travel so fast." Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said rather proudly, "Our endless forest warhorses are the best in the world. Their leg strength and endurance are few and far between on the continent. Our mounts are also the best in the endless forest, so traveling 1,000 miles in a day is nothing difficult." Qin Yin couldn't help but smile. "Okay, the warhorses of the endless forest are the best. Okay?" Lin Muyu said, "Along the way, I heard that a divine weapon fell from the heaven realm on the Cloud Ridge, which is why countless experts came here to fight for it. After so many days, it is said that the divine weapon is still ownerless." "A divine weapon that fell from the heaven realm?" Tang Xiaoxi opened her mouth and said, "It sounds so powerful." "Mumu, do you know what it is?" "I don't know." Lin Muyu shook her head and said, "Moreover, after so many days, the world still hasn't found this divine weapon. Something must have happened, or someone is spreading rumors. In reality, there is no such divine weapon." At this point, Lin Muyu faintly felt that someone was looking in their direction. It was the young warrior who was drinking wine with his head lowered. Qin Yin sat there in a dignified and virtuous manner. She smiled and said, "No problem. We will know the truth when we get there." Okay. At this time, the waiter had already started to serve wine and dishes, filling the table. The big white steamed buns also looked very tempting. After a day of continuous travel, Lin Muyu was long famished. She didn't hesitate to grab a steamed bun and take a bite. It was very fragrant. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi had been influenced by noble etiquette since they were young. Naturally, they wouldn't wolf down their food like Lin Muyu. Even if they were really hungry, they would maintain their ladylike demeanor and eat in small bites. Just as Lin Muyu ate the third steamed bun and half a white fish, a few mercenaries at a table not far away were already drunk. One by one, they carried wine jugs and wine glasses and walked over. One of them stood beside Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Little brother, you are so lucky to have 2 beautiful women drinking with you. I am so envious." Another mercenary with a dagger on his waist laughed and said, "2 ladies, how about you do us the honor of drinking with us?" A smile appeared on Tang Xiaoxi's face. She raised her head and glanced at the mercenaries. "How do you want to play?" she asked with a smile. "Haha, this lady has asked a good question." The mercenary with 2 scars on his face grinned and said, "Play is play. If you can make us brothers happy today, we will bring you to the Cloud Ridge to look for the divine weapon tomorrow. How about it?" As he spoke, he unsheathed the dagger at his waist. With a shwa-shwa sound, rays of light shot out like shuttles. He raised his eyebrows and said, "You have a good eye. The abilities of us brothers are not something that this hot-headed pretty boy can compare to." Lin Muyu was immediately unhappy. She held the steamed bun in her hand and said, "Hothead, you can't be talking about me, right? I'm talking about you." What about it? Can't I? The mercenary tilted his head and looked at Lin Muyu as he laughed. Behind them, when the waiters saw these mercenaries drinking and causing trouble, none of them dared to say anything. They all hid behind the counter as if they were afraid of being accidentally injured. This kind of thing must have happened frequently in this inn. Chinin smiled and said, Brother Yu, don't be polite. Teach them a lesson and let them know how high the heavens are and how deep the earth is. Lin Muyu nodded and slowly stood up. She discovered that she was not as tall as these mercenaries. She felt as if she had suffered a blow and the dignity in her eyes suddenly increased. She said in a low voice, Don't you think it's impolite to stand and talk to me? Under the pressure of the domain, the mercenaries felt as if their legs were filled with lead. One by one, they knelt in front of Lin Muyu. Lin Muyu held half a steamed bun in her hand and smiled at the scar-faced mercenary. What is this? The scar-faced mercenary's face was filled with anger. Bastard! What kind of sorcery did you use on me? I only want to ask you, what is this? Half a steamed bun. No, not half a steamed bun. Lin Muyu smiled brightly. This half a steamed bun to send you out. What did you say? Before the scar-faced mercenary could say anything else, the half-steamed bun in Lin Muyu's hand suddenly flew out. Bang! An oppressive force slammed into the scar-faced mercenary's chest, and the faint sound of his ribs breaking could be heard. The scar-faced mercenary's body flew out like a cannonball and smashed through the window. He fell into the muddy water outside and screamed miserably. You dare to take liberties with my girl? You're looking to die. Lin Muyu said lightly. Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi were expressionless. What do you mean by your girl? It sounds weird. You dare to take liberties with my girl? You're looking to die. Lin Muyu repeated. Are we just your girls? The two girls asked proudly. You dare to take liberties with my girl? You're looking to die. Lin Muyu corrected herself. Are we your girls? The two girls blushed. You dare to take liberties with my girl. You're looking to die. Lin Muyu wanted to die. An empress and a princess were both hard to please. The faces of the other mercenaries turned pale. One of them, who had good eyesight, hurriedly cupped his fists and said, This young master, we have eyes but failed to see and have offended you. We hope that you will forgive us and spare our lowly lives. As he spoke, he knelt down again. Lin Muyu glanced at him. These mercenaries must have bullied a lot of people. Lin Muyu said, Go pay the bill and get out. Remember, use roll. Yes, young master, we will get out now. He grabbed a handful of silver coins and threw them on the counter. Immediately, he bent his body and rolled out of the room. He was covered in mud. These people were the ones who knew what to do. Rolling in mud was definitely more worthwhile than having a few broken bones. At this moment, a group of people sitting on the other side of the hall stood up. One of them, who was about 30 years old and dressed in luxurious clothes, walked forward with a long sword in his hand. He cupped his hands and said, Sir, you seem to have extraordinary skills. You must be aiming for the divine weapon, right? There are many spirit beasts and bandits on the way from Divine Shadow City to Yunling. Why don't we travel together? Lin Muyu asked, May I know who you are? Oh, I'm Yuchi-kai, the young master of the 10,000 Swords Villa in Divine Shadow City. I'm from a branch family of the Yuchi family in Heaven's Pivot Province. I'm at the third firmament of the Earth Realm. The people behind me are my retainers, and their strength ranges from the human realm to the heaven realm. There are more than 20 of them. Young Master Yuchi, do you know where the divine weapon is? Lin Muyu asked. I do. Yuchi-kai's voice deepened as he said, The divine weapon fell from the heaven realm and smashed a huge crater on the west side of the Cloud Ridge. However, no one could find the divine weapon. There were only corpses and traces of battle left at the scene. Many people were killed. I'm guessing that the divine weapon must have fallen into the hands of an expert or a spirit beast. I see. Lin Muyu thought for a moment and asked, Xiaoyin, this young Master Yuchi knows where the divine weapon is. Should we travel together? Qin Yin smiled. I'll listen to you. All right. Lin Muyu nodded. Young Master Yuchi, let's travel together. I am Linji. I hope we can look out for each other along the way. When we reach Yunling, we will split up and search for the divine weapon on our own. All right, that's exactly what I want. That night, the autumn rain still did not stop. The autumn wind blew in through the gaps between the windows, and the candlelight swayed gently. Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin were studying the map carefully, while Lin Muyu stood by the window, looking at the rainy night outside in silence. Mu, why did you agree to travel with Yuchi Kai? Tang Xiaoxi suddenly asked. We are unfamiliar with this place, so we can't find the way. Lin Muyu thought for a moment and said, a few years ago, after we recovered Tianshu province from the Iha kingdom, wasn't the Yuchi family executed for treason? Why are there still so many people? Qin Yin smiled and explained. Although I ordered the execution of the Yuchi family, Tianshu province was under grandfather's control. It seems that after General Feng conquered Divine Shadow City, grandfather did not order the execution of Yuchi Tian, Yuchi Yen, and the others. Instead, he secretly left them in the imperial capital and gathered the Yuchi family to forge weapons for grandfather. Because of this, the quality of the weapons of the Steel Blade Army is no less than that of the Longdan Army camp. I see. I knew it. Chapter 458. The next morning, the rain stopped, and the sound of horses' hooves could be heard outside the inn. The people of the Yuchi family were ready to set off, while Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi slowly finished their breakfast of bread and vegetable soup. Then they walked out of the door and took the reins of the horses from the hands of the inn's waiter. Yuchi Kai stepped forward and said with a smile, Young Master Linji, we are ready to set off. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded and said, My apologies, young Lord Yuchi. My two cousins and I woke up rather late. Sorry to keep you waiting. I didn't wait long. You're too polite. Yuchi Kai stepped forward and glanced at the horses of Lin Muyu and the others. A trace of surprise flashed across his face as he said, Young Master Linji, your horses don't look like the horses of the commoners. They aren't frightened in the face of strangers and their hooves are steady. They look like well-trained war horses, right? Lin Muyu nodded and thought quickly. Then she replied, Yes, our Lin family is also a famous and scholarly family in Lanyan City, so my father bought a few war horses for me and my two cousins in private. Haha, this kind of thing is extremely common in Lanyan City. Yes. Yuchi Kai was a little embarrassed. There were countless famous families in Lanyan City, and he had no way to check whether there was a Lin family one by one. He could only be fooled by Lin Muyu. Everyone mounted their horses one by one and began to hurry on. The autumn wind was warm and cool. This was the provincial road of Tianshu province. There was an endless stream of pedestrians on the road. There were businessmen coming and going, travelers on horseback, and more wandering mercenaries carrying weapons and wearing rough armor. Lin Muyu roughly counted along the way and saw at least hundreds of wandering mercenaries. Most of these wandering mercenaries did not ride horses. After all, horses were very expensive, and ordinary mercenaries did not have the financial resources to afford them. As if seeing the emotion in Lin Muyu's eyes, Yuchi Kai rode side by side and said with a smile, Since the chaos of the Iha kingdom 4 years ago, the people's livelihood has withered. Many people can't make a living, so they can only put down their hoes, forge a weapon, and join the ranks of wandering mercenaries. They seek revenge and do things everywhere. I don't know how many people have died. Now the food production in Tianshu province is less than half of what it was 4 years ago, but the number of mercenaries is 5 times that of 4 years ago. Young Master Yuchi, do these mercenaries also want to go to Yunling to find the heavenly weapon? Qin Yin asked. Yes. Yuchi Kai took another look at Qin Yin's beautiful face and couldn't help but feel excited. He said, Legend has it that this heavenly weapon fell from outer space. Perhaps it is a heavenly weapon. If you can get this heavenly weapon, you can use it to practice peerless martial arts. At the very least, you can offer it to Her Highness Qin Yin, and you won't lose the chance to be a noble. Everyone has the same dream, that is, to use this heavenly weapon to change their lives. Lin Muyu smiled and did not speak. She just held the reins of the warhorse and looked at the green mountains and fields around her leisurely, as well as enjoying the late autumn fruits and the fragrance of the fields on both sides of the official road. Kai's heart was beating like a drum. He tried to detect Lin Muyu's power with his spiritual mind, but he could only feel that he could not see the depth of this person's power. It was like a pool of water. It could be as still as a pool, or it could be as monstrous as the sky. There was no way to predict it. The two beautiful girls beside him were the same. They could not see any clues about their power. Cough, cough. Kai smiled a little awkwardly and said, "Last night, I saw young Master Lin Ji easily defeat a few mercenaries. Judging from young Master's cultivation, you should at least be a battle saint, right?" Lin Muyu smiled modestly. It's all right, it's all right." Kai cursed in his heart. What kind of answer was that? So he rubbed his nose resentfully and said, "Young Master Lin Ji should know that seizing the divine weapon on the Cloud Ridge this time is not that simple. There are already many forces and experts on the continent who have set foot in the Heaven's Pivot Province." "Oh?" Lin Muyu's interest was piqued. "Who are they?" Kai said, "The sect master of the Ice Extreme sect, Sui, is at the peak of the Law of Ice. It is said that he has brought more than a dozen experts from the Ice Extreme sect from the snowy region of the Cloud Ridge province. Also, the sect master of the Giant Rock sect, Ouyang Qing, has also led his disciples into the Cloud Ridge. In addition, more than a dozen large and small clans from the Heaven's Pivot Province, North Ridge Province, South Ridge Province, and Cloud Province have all sent people to the Heaven's Pivot Province. It is said that even the South Ridge Iha Nation has sent the peak experts from the House of Chivalry to the Cloud Ridge." As he spoke, Kai pondered for a moment and said, "It's not that easy to seize the divine weapon from the hands of so many experts. So many people." Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. "There are so many opponents. Young Master, are you confident?" Kai looked a little embarrassed and said, "My cultivation is too shallow. I'm afraid I won't be able to stand out among the experts from the various clans and sections. So, we need to gather all our strength to fight against them. Young Master Lin Ji, Kai would like to invite you to join our team and search for the divine weapon together. If we really obtain the divine weapon, how will we distribute it?" Lin Muyu asked. Kai was stunned and said, "That's easy. As long as young Master Lin Ji can help the 10,000 Swords village obtain the divine weapon, Kai is willing to offer half of the village's wealth to young Master. It's about 700,000 Jinyin coins. Young Master, are you willing?" Lin Muyu shook her head. "Forget it. Let's go our separate ways after we reach the Yun Mountains. Actually, I also want to see what the legendary divine weapon looks like." Kai's voice was a little shaky as he said, "Since young Master Yuchi is a prominent family in the imperial capital, you must know about the Yuchi family in the Tianshu province. Ever since the family head surrendered to the Ihar nation and was defeated, the Yuchi family has been in a state of decline. Kai wants to rely on his own strength to restore the Yuchi family's former prestige. Therefore, this weapon is very important to me. I believe that young Master Lin Ji must be an expert. If I, Kai, really obtain this divine weapon, I hope that young Master will show mercy." Lin Muyu frowned and said, "All right, if young Master Yuchi really obtains the divine weapon, I promise I won't do anything to you. But I won't protect you either." Kai sighed. "Thank you for your honesty, young Master." After a day and a night, the group entered the barren mountains. They were already close to the Yun Mountains and were surrounded by deep jungles. Endless fiery red maple trees covered the mountains, and the roads had disappeared. The warhorses could only tread slowly on the mountain roads. Lin Muyu, Qinin, and Tang Xiaoxi's endless forest warhorses could still endure the hardships, but the horses of Kai and the others were a little tired, especially the retainers, who were already lagging far behind. "We've entered the Yun Mountains." Kai's face was dewy. He cupped his hands and said, "Young Master Lin Ji, let's part ways here. I wish you good luck." Lin Muyu also cupped her hands and said, "All right, let's part ways here. Xiaoyin, Xiaoxi, let's go." Yes. The three spurred their war horses together. Immediately, the horses neighed and galloped through the mountains, disappearing from Yuchi-kai and the other's sight in the blink of an eye. Sigh. Yuchi-kai sighed. One of the retainers asked, "Young master, what's so great about this Lin Ji that you treat him so politely? I've never seen you so polite to anyone before." Yuchi-kai looked at him coldly and said, "This person's aura is stable, and the power in his body is not released. Did you see that just now? Every time the maple leaves fell on him, they would fly away on their own. These leaves couldn't land on him at all. And it's the same with those two stunning beauties. The leaves couldn't land on them at all." What does this mean? The retainer was stunned. Yuchi-kai's eyes shone. "It means that their bodies are covered with battle armor energy. These three people are all above the Heavenly King level." "This is too scary. Maybe they've already stepped into the Saint Realm. My God!" The retainer's face instantly turned pale. Although there were many cultivators on the Shattered Cauldron continent, those who could cultivate to the Heavenly King level were basically the masters of the major families and sects, or generals in the army. Although there were countless people who came to the Cloud Ridge in search of treasures, the appearance of three Heavenly Kings at the same time was still a little shocking. Yuchi-kai lived in the Myriad Sword Manor, so his horizons weren't wide. To him, a Heavenly King was already an extremely terrifying existence. However, he didn't know how shocked and horrified he would be if he knew that Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and the transformed Tang Xiaoxi were all at the Saint Realm. Rustle, rustle. Just as Yuchi-kai had said, these fallen leaves danced on the battle armor around Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu grabbed the reins, and the warhorse walked through the mountains, causing it to lose its balance between going up and down. She had to hold on to the reins, or she would accidentally fall off the horse's back. She slowly activated her spirit meridian technique, and suddenly, about a dozen or so dense auras appeared up ahead. Lin Muyu couldn't help but have a cold look in her eyes, and she said in a low voice, "Xiaoyin, Xiaoxi, be careful. It seems that someone is ambushing us." "Ambush?" Qin Yin was taken aback. "Why?" Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "To us, we're here to search for treasures, but to some vicious mercenaries, we're their treasures. Be careful." "Yes." Sure enough, a few sharp arrows whizzed through the wind, heading straight for Lin Muyu and Qin Yin. There was an ambush under those maple leaves, and a dozen mercenaries held longbows in their hands and fired a series of arrows. Unfortunately, the ones they encountered were all saint-level experts. Bang, bang, bang. All the arrows were deflected by the Golden Gourd's walls. Lin Muyu did not even draw her sword. She suddenly spun around and leaped off her warhorse. Her saint's chi whirled, and under the pressure of the Saint Realm, leaves flew up into the sky. Lin Muyu's boots stepped on the fallen leaves as she slowly walked forward. She said indifferently, "I have no enmity with you. Why did you harm me?" The leading wandering mercenary raised his hand and drew the long sword on his back. His eyes were filled with greed and fear, and he smiled sinisterly. "You can only blame yourself for riding 3 good horses. And those 2 beautiful girls, I want them." Chapter 459. The pressure of the domain suddenly fell like a mountain, and the dancing maple leaves in the air all fell to the ground under the pressure. A group of wandering mercenaries with swords in their hands couldn't move, and the weaker ones had already knelt down, their faces pale. The mercenary leader didn't know what was happening at all. He raised his sword and threw it, shouting, "What sorcery did you use on us?" Clang! The blade bounced off Lin Muyu's battle armor, and he floated to the ground, stepping on the fallen leaves. Step by step, he walked forward, a calm smile on his face. "How many people have you killed with this method?" The mercenary leader's face was full of hatred. "None of your business. If you want to kill us, then kill us. We're not afraid of death." At this time, an old mercenary beside him whispered with a pale face, "Boss, we've encountered the Saint Realm. This aura is called the Saint Realm pressure. I've seen it in a martial arts manual. What, the Saint Realm? The mercenary leader's face was full of shock. You? Who are you? Lin Muyu didn't speak. Under the spirit pulse technique, she sensed a dense aura on the other side of the mountain. They were extremely fast, and it wasn't the aura of humans. It was the aura of swift wolves, and a pack of at least 30 of them. Qin Yin held the reins and asked, Brother Yu, are you going to kill them to enforce justice? No. Lin Muyu shook her head. Killing them will dirty my sword. Xiaoyin, Xiaoxi, let's go. Go east. Get on the horses. The swift wolves are coming. Okay. The three of them spurred on their horses and galloped away. The group of mercenaries behind them slowly woke up from the suppression of the Saint Realm pressure. The old mercenary's face was livid. He just said that the swift wolves are coming. Let's run. Damn it, why would the swift wolves come here? Bastards! The group of mercenaries cursed one after another, but it was of no use. Amidst the howling of the wolves, a pack of greenish-white swift wolves appeared on the mountain ridge. The leader of the pack sniffed ferociously, and there were 5 golden lines on its forehead. It was a 5,000-year-old swift wolf. The swift wolf reproduced quickly and grew quickly, but a swift wolf with a lifespan of 5,000 years was extremely rare and extremely terrifying. We can't escape. The mercenary leader's face was full of anger. Brothers, we can't escape today. Let's fight with these bastards. We can't feed them for nothing. Let's fight. 3 mercenaries rushed forward with their leader, but more people turned around and ran. In the howling of the wolves, the swift wolves pounced on them like lightning, their screams echoing over the mountains. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi had already run far away. They looked back at the mountain ridge behind them from afar. Perhaps this was the principle of God will punish the wicked. The spirit pulse technique quickly spread out. In this kind of forest where visibility was very low, Lin Muyu's spirit pulse technique was like a highly efficient radar, able to predict the enemy ahead of time. Within a few kilometers, other than some scattered mercenaries, there were also some ferocious spirit beasts, but they couldn't sense the power of the divine weapon. After walking for more than 2 hours, Qin Yin stretched out her hand and pointed into the distance. Look, we found it! On the Yunling Ridge, a huge pit had appeared between the mountain rocks, and there were traces of fire everywhere. It was the place where the divine weapon fell. The radius of the pit was tens of meters, so how strong was the impact to create such a big hole? Using the spirit pulse technique, he sensed that there were no signs of life or spiritual power in the cave. The treasure had long been taken away, but he didn't know if it was still in the Yunling Ridge. There are so many dead bodies over there. Tang Xiaoxi frowned and said, "HM?" Lin Muyu walked over with her sword in hand. Indeed, there was a group of corpses lying on the ground. Most of the corpses were not whole, as if they had been gnawed on by wild beasts. On the shoulder of one of the corpses, Lin Muyu even saw a copper-purple flower insignia. That was the insignia worn by the Empire's soldiers. He frowned and said, "It seems that the troops stationed in Heaven's Pivot Province also came here to search for treasure. What attacked them?" Qin Yin asked. Looking at the teeth marks, it should be a ferocious tiger-like spirit beast. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "It should be a bloodthirsty tiger. There are also burn marks, and looking at the range of the flames, it should be at least 6,000 years old. These people are really unlucky to have encountered such a strong bloodthirsty tiger." Bloodthirsty tiger. Tang Xiaoxi narrowed her beautiful eyes and said, "Can Mu sense the direction of the bloodthirsty tiger? Since we have lost our direction, let's go and kill this bloodthirsty tiger." All right. Lin Muyu could faintly sense the aura of an extremely violent spirit beast in the south. She pointed in that direction and said, "It should be over there. The aura is quite violent, so if I'm not mistaken, it should be fighting someone." All right. The 3 war horses galloped forward, their hooves traversing the rocky terrain. Surprisingly, they didn't slow down too much. In the distance, the angry roars of wild beasts could be heard coming from the other side of the hill, and they could even sense the scorching aura of flames. When Lin Muyu arrived at the top of the hill, She was shocked to find a large group of people in the valley up ahead, surrounding a bloodthirsty tiger and attacking it. This group of people were all wearing suits of armor, and their arms were covered in a layer of stone skin. It was clear that they had used the stone skin medicine. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others were all at the Saint Realm, and their suits of battle armor had enshrouded their bodies, so there was no longer much of a need for them to use low-grade stone skin medicines. However, the scenes unfolding before their eyes reminded Lin Muyu of the battle between Hawkeye and the others and the bloodthirsty tiger. Roar! Amidst the roar, the bloodthirsty tiger's sharp claws flew out and tore apart a cultivator's chest armor. A few claws tore open the cultivator's stomach, causing blood to spurt out. This person died a miserable death. Qin Yin took a closer look at the bloodthirsty tiger. There were a total of 8 golden patterns and 9 silver patterns on its head, and she couldn't help but be taken aback. "It's an 8,900-year-old bloodthirsty tiger," she murmured. Lin Muyu nodded. "Yes, it's very powerful. Can this group of people beat them? So many people have died." Tang Xiaoxi looked like she couldn't bear to see them die. The people attacking the bloodthirsty tiger all wore a gray insignia depicting a rock. If she wasn't mistaken, this was the giant rock gate that Yuchikai had mentioned. Among the crowd, a middle-aged martial artist in his 40s charged at the bloodthirsty tiger with his bare hands. His fists were full of energy, and his aura swirled around him. His fists seemed to be made of stone, and he landed a heavy punch on the side of the bloodthirsty tiger. "Lie down, you beast!" Bang! The flames on the bloodthirsty tiger's skin dispersed, and with a howl, its body shook violently. Its tail lashed out like lightning. Lin Muyu had already experienced the power of the bloodthirsty tiger's tail. Could break a steel shield, so one could imagine how destructive it was. However, the middle-aged martial artist's body suddenly sank like a mountain, and the battle chi on his left arm rapidly transformed into rock energy. He roared, "Taste my rock armor!" Bang! His body trembled, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. However, the bloodthirsty tiger's tail was also repelled. The giant rock gate's martial arts truly lived up to its name. Its defensive power was probably not inferior to Qin Yan's dragon-scale armor. Kill! Save the gate master! A group of giant rock sect powerhouses brandished their weapons and slashed at the bloodthirsty tiger. The middle-aged martial artist was probably the giant rock sect's sect leader, Ouyang Qing. He was forced to retreat several steps, his face pale, and his battle armor shattered into pieces. Even though he was a heavenly king-stage powerhouse, he was still no match for an 8,900-year-old spirit beast. Roar! Roar! The bloodthirsty tiger's body had already been pierced by several swords and spears, but its ferocity did not diminish. It shook its head, and the spirit stone in its head emitted energy. A raging flame suddenly erupted in the crowd. Bang! More than a dozen cultivators of the giant rock sect died in the Sea of Fire, and only a few cultivators whose rock energy was strong enough were able to survive. Lin Muyu frowned as she watched the battle in the valley. Her hand was already on the hilt of her sword. Her strength far surpassed the group of people in front of her, and she only needed a single sword strike to end this spirit beast. At this moment, a few giant rock gate disciples suddenly rushed out from the grass, raising their swords and shouting, "Who are you? Please leave. Giant rock gate is hunting here. No one is allowed to enter." Lin Muyu said indifferently, "I just wanted to help so that one of you won't die." "No need," a disciple said with an unruly expression. "The giant rock sect has its own rules and dignity. This vicious beast has killed many of our people, so the giant rock sect must deal with it ourselves. Thank you for your kindness. Now, you can leave." "Bastard." Lin Muyu suppressed her anger and said, "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. I'll just watch from here." "You!" At this moment, a beast's roar suddenly came from the south. "What now?" Qin Yin looked towards the southern jungle. Lin Muyu's heart turned cold, and her face turned pale. "Not good. What's wrong?" A powerful spirit beast is coming. What spirit beast? How powerful is it? Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. Lin Muyu took a deep breath and said, "It's many times stronger than any spirit beast we've ever seen." In the spiritual pulse technique, the spirit beast's aura actually surpassed the saint realm and reached the hierarch level. How old would a spirit beast be to have such an aura? Behind them, the battle between the giant rock gate and the bloodthirsty tiger was still going on. Suddenly, a boom sound came from the southern jungle, and a mushroom cloud soared into the sky, followed by a spray of flames. The jungle several li to the south instantly turned into a sea of fire. In the sea of fire, a giant beast at least 10 meters tall trampled the trees, roaring endlessly. It was a ferocious tiger-shaped beast. Its entire body was covered in green fur, and its mouth was filled with fangs. Its 3 tails were like long whips that danced in the air, and the flames around its body soared to the heavens. A single roar from it was enough to make one feel suffocated. This was probably the pressure of a divine-level spiritual beast. It's the divine beast Baiyan. Tang Xiaoxi was experienced and couldn't help but be shocked. Chapter 460. Roar. Baiyan's roar reverberated between heaven and earth as it desperately shook its head, as if trying to get rid of something. Faintly, in the flames, one could see that there seemed to be a human lying on top of Baiyan's head. That's right, a human was actually attached to Baiyan's head, surrounded by blood-red cyclones to resist Baiyan's flames. Heavens? Qinin opened her small mouth and said, "Who is that? So strong?" Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes and said, "Hide the warhorses and prepare for battle." And, hiding the 3 warhorses together in a groove between the rocks, they pulled out their weapons from afar and prepared for battle. Behind them, the people of Giant Rock Sect had finally killed the bloodthirsty tiger. It was unknown how many people had died. On the forest path, another group of people charged over. They were the people of Extreme Ice Sect, each of them wearing a silver badge on their chest. The leader of the group had white hair and a strong aura. He was Su Yi, the sect leader of Extreme Ice Sect, and his cultivation was very close to the Saint Realm. Sect leader. Look, the divine weapon has appeared. A disciple of Ice Severance School reached out his hand and pointed at Bai Wu's head. In the fiery light, the man attached to Bai Wu's head suddenly roared, exerted his strength with both arms, and pulled out a shining long sword from Bai Wu's head. In the magma-like hot blood splashed out, the man quickly retreated with his divine weapon. But Bai Wu was not easy to deal with. It kept waving its sharp claws. Pong! With a heavy blow, the young man and the divine weapon fell into the sea of fire in the forest. Su Yi's eyes were filled with greed as he said, "Disciples of Extreme Ice Sect, listen up. Follow me to chase after the divine weapon. Go around Baiyan's giant beast. This spirit beast is not something a human can defeat." Yes. The group urged their horses to take a detour. Lin Muyu, Qinin, and Tang Xiaoxi stood halfway up the mountain, not in a hurry to fight. Beside them, the people of Giant Rock Sect were constantly injured, but they still desperately chased after the divine weapon, as if they were possessed. Are divine weapons really that important? Lin Muyu frowned. His gaze fell on the spiritual beast Swanee. As far as his eyes could see, there were bright golden lines on the head of Swanee. After a careful count, there were a total of 6 golden lines and 4 silver lines. He couldn't help but sweat in his palms. He said nervously and excitedly, "A 400-year-old spiritual beast. Does it count as the best in the continent?" Qin nodded. There hasn't been such a mythological beast on the continent for at least 1,000 years. Are we gonna kill Tao Wu now? No, let's take a look. It's too chaotic. Okay. The forest at the foot of the mountain was indeed chaotic. The people of Extreme Ice Sect wanted to go around Baiyan, but Baiyan's murderous nature was aroused. Waving its sharp claws, it continuously smashed the people of Extreme Ice Sect into a pile of minced meat. The The cultivators in the surrounding forest also seemed to hear Bai An's voice and came over. More and more people came, and in the blink of an eye, the forest was filled with tens of thousands of cultivators. All of them looked at the scene in front of them as if they were possessed. Whether it was taking the divine weapon or killing Bai An, they could all be named heroes. Damn it! Kill Bai An first! Sui saw that many of the people of Extreme Ice Sect had already been killed by Bai An. With a face full of anger, he pulled out his long sword and jumped off his horse. The long sword was full of fighting spirit light. Suddenly, the surroundings were covered in frost. Suyi's entire body seemed to be wrapped in ice, and he struck Bai An's left head heavily. Bang! The sword chi and the cold light hit the lower jaw of the spirit beast together. Suddenly, Bai An let out a cry and raised its head very high. The spiritual chi on its lower jaw dispersed, and the gang chi completely protected it. It only felt pain but not injury. It swung its sharp claws and pounced on Sui. The wind from the claws swept across. Sui saw it clearly. He lightly kicked his feet in the air and suddenly sped up to avoid the attack. Instead, several people behind him were turned into minced meat by the wind from Bai An's claws. Bastard! Suyi's face was full of anger. At this time, the people of Giant Rock Sect had arrived. Ouyang Qing gritted his teeth and said, "Once this fierce beast Bai An is born, it will definitely harm the human world. Sect Master Sui, why don't we join hands to kill this fierce beast and do justice for the heavens?" "Okay, Sect Master Ouyang, please be careful." Yes, not only the Ice Extreme Sect and the Giant Rock Sect, but also more and more cultivators had gathered and surrounded by an arrows were flying everywhere, but they could not cause any damage to this ancient giant beast. On the other side of the forest, the young man with the divine weapon was running towards the Cloud Ridge. He wanted to cross the Cloud Ridge and leave the Heaven Pivot Province. Rustle. The figure on the maple leaf swept past. A person flew past like a bolt of lightning and suddenly stopped in front of the young man. He slowly pulled out a golden blade and said with a smile, "You want to take the divine weapon back to the devil race so soon?" The person who came was Lin Muyu. The young man's mouth slightly curved up, and the divine weapon in his hand was extremely bright. He smiled slightly and said, "You are indeed not simple. You are not as stupid as those humans." Lin Muyu looked at him calmly and said, "You are also a 5-star devil ancestor. Tell me, are you one of the 15 elders of the devil race?" The young man was stunned. "You? Who are you? How do you know the 15 elders of the divine race?" "Heh, one of the 15 elders, Lian Hai, died by my sword," Lin Muyu deliberately provoked. Immediately, the young demon's expression overflowed with killing intent. "You are Lin Muyu? The Lin Muyu who drowned my army? That's right. Unless you kill me today, don't even think of taking the divine weapon. Then let's see what you can do." The young man smiled arrogantly. "Don't think that you are so great just because you killed that idiot Lian Hai. You can kill me in your next life." Lin Muyu did not speak. Her figure suddenly moved, and she appeared in front of Ji Luo like lightning. Her sword was wrapped in the divine power of the god-binding chains, and she fiercely attacked. Clang! High-level demons were well-versed in swordsmanship, so Ji Luo naturally could easily block the attack. But the moment the swords collided, a ray of sword chi left the dragon spirit sword and directly attacked Ji Luo's chest. Splitting light slash. Ah! Ji Luo was startled for a moment, but she quickly reacted. The Grandmaster demonic energy surged out from her chest, and the revolving force quickly dissipated the power of the light-splitting slash. The sword light followed the rapid rotation of the Grandmaster demonic energy, and with a bang, it chopped down a huge tree not far away. Lin Muyu's attacks were extraordinarily fast. Her sword moved like a shadow, and she attacked dozens of times in a row. But Ji Luo's swordsmanship was indeed much better than Lian Hai's. She either parried or dodged the sharp edge of the dragon spirit sword. Just as she was about to finish her attack, she lightly lifted her sword, and the sword absorption technique lifted the dragon spirit sword into the air. Her battle boots were wrapped in a thick Grandmaster demon power as she kicked. Whoosh! Lin Muyu's kick also came with a powerful force. Bang! The two were forced back several steps. It was clear that after fighting so many powerful demons, Lin Muyu had a general understanding of the demon's swordsmanship. Ji Luo, on the other hand, held the divine weapon in her hand. A trace of surprise flashed across her face. She gritted her teeth and smiled. Looks like I can't win if I don't use my full strength. All right. Lin Muyu smiled and nodded. Behind her, Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi had also arrived. But it seemed like Lin Muyu didn't want them to help, so they didn't make a move. They were just waiting for an opportunity. Ji Luo didn't seem to be afraid of being surrounded by three powerful experts. Perhaps high-level demons had always been this arrogant, especially top experts like Ji Luo. Crackle, crackle. Bolts of lightning appeared in the air and quickly gathered on the divine weapon. Ji Luo sneered. Lightning arts. She infused lightning into the blade, and the lightning shot up into the sky. In terms of strength, this kind of lightning energy was many times stronger than Lin Muyu's sword of lightning. Die! Ji Luo's figure was like lightning. Her speed was not inferior to falling star steps. She swung her sword downwards and shouted, "Have a taste of the power of the heavens." Night had fallen, and the lightning was extremely bright. Lin Muyu's body spun, the brilliant sun battle light madly pouring into the dragon spirit sword. The opponent's weapon was even sharper than the dragon spirit sword and could not be underestimated. The starlight on her wrist flowed into the sword and met the attack head-on. First astral light. Bang! Two powerful forces exploded, causing the surrounding leaves to fly into the air. A streak of starlight and lightning clashed, shooting into the sky with no way out. The explosion was deafening. Ji Luo was forced back several steps, but Lin Muyu was in an even worse state. Some of the lightning energy had flowed into her arm, causing her to feel numb. It was obvious that first astral light had lost in this clash. At the foot of the mountain, the people surrounding Bai and all looked up at the starlight and lightning shooting into the sky. All of them were dumbfounded. Is this the human world or purgatory? What's happening over there? It was deadly hot, but the energy fluctuations there were also very deadly. Z, Z, Z. The surrounding rocks and ground crackled with intense lightning. Ji Luo's entire being was on full display, and the divine weapon in his hand began to emit a faint whistling sound. As expected of a divine weapon from beyond the heavens, it was actually able to withstand such a powerful attack without self-destructing. When Ji Luo's strength reached its peak, he flew over and unleashed another powerful attack. Rays of starlight converged into a demonic lotus that circled around Lin Muyu's body. The star lotus armor had already been activated, and Lin Muyu did not hold back in the slightest. He poured 100% of his stellar scripture's power into the dragon spirit sword, causing it to tremble. Stardust and rock energy rapidly converged and rushed towards Ji Luo's attack. 5 mountains descent from the heavens. When the two swords collided, the divine weapon in Ji Luo's hand shone even more fiercely, directly suppressing the dragon spirit sword's edge. A vast divine power rushed over, and the biting cold battle light seemed like it could tear through one's skin. Lin Muyu could barely open his eyes as the clothes on his arm were torn to shreds. In a contest of weapons, Lin Muyu's dragon spirit sword had been completely defeated. Bang! The 5 mountains descend from the heavens transformed into a fiery red energy ball that shot into the sky. The power of the sword was actually deflected into the air by Ji Luo, but Ji Luo had expended a large amount of Grandmaster demonic energy in order to deflect this attack. Before he could catch his breath, he looked up and saw that Lin Muyu's left palm was filled with Xian energy of heaven and earth, and power was rushing towards him from all directions. 5 elements, 8 wastelands, annihilation. Damn it! Ji Luo hurriedly raised his arm and shouted, "Thunder wall!" Streaks of lightning converged to form a wall, protecting Ji Luo from harm. Boom! The 5 elements, 8 wastelands, annihilation charged at the thunder wall, and after Lin Muyu finished his attack, a flying dagger appeared in his palm. It was the little magic noise dagger. Lin Muyu. Ji Luo roared from behind the thunder wall. Don't you want the 400-year swan knees spirit stones? Why are you making things difficult for me? Separated by the thunder wall, Lin Muyu's gaze was indifferent. Demons? Don't even think of leaving the Cloud Ridge with this sword. I will not let you use this sword to kill the people of my empire. Ji Luo, you will die here today no matter what. Chapter 461. The divine weapon in Ji Luo's hand glowed brighter and brighter. The almost transparent blade glowed with the light of the myriad of stars, looking somewhat familiar. Could it be a star? A chill passed through Lin Muyu's heart. How was this possible? Wasn't the Sword Elder's star stolen by Luolan? How did he fall from the heaven realm? What was going on? Just as Lin Muyu was lost in thought, Ji Luo had already circulated all the demonic power in his body. His entire body was covered in blazing lightning, and a gust of wind forced Tang Xiaoxi and Qin Yin to take a few steps back. Pa-pa, pa-pa. Deep purple lightning continuously flowed from Ji Luo's body into the blade. The star-like divine weapon emitted a sharp sword cry. The body of the sword was magnificent, but it was filled with killing intent. Ji Luo's purple eyes were completely submerged in blood red. The demon cloak behind him fluttered as he laughed loudly. This sword belongs to the god race. Even that swan and eye belongs to the demon race. Lin Muyu, you are destined to fail this time. I haven't used this purple lightning apocalypse for more than 1,000 years. Let this move send you to hell. Ji Luo's purple eyes were completely submerged in blood red. The demon cloak behind him fluttered as he laughed loudly. This sword belongs to the god race. Even that swan and eye belongs to the demon race. Lin Muyu, you are destined to fail this time. I haven't used this purple lightning apocalypse for more than 1,000 years. Purple lightning apocalypse? Lin Muyu's brows furrowed tightly. The opponent's move gave off a strong sense of oppression. Even her strongest domain pressure could not withstand it at all. Could be deduced that, in terms of martial arts cultivation, this Ji Luo was above her. Moreover, he looked delicate and pretty, but she did not expect him to be more than 1,000 years old. It seemed like the cultivation of the demon race could also preserve one's appearance forever. Ha! With a shout, the 7 glorious stars' transformation slowly condensed. The sky suddenly darkened, and the starlight that filled the sky seemed to be absorbed by Lin Muyu. Even the Tao Wu in the distance turned around to look at Lin Muyu while it was fighting the crowd. With a roar, it continued to swing its huge head to fight the people who were trying to become the warriors of the Tao Wu massacre. Is this the 7 glorious stars' transformation? Ji Luo's face was brimming with battle intent and excitement as he laughed heartily. So it was this move that defeated Marshal Qianfeng. The ultimate technique of the 7 luminaries demon emperor was actually learned by a human. Ha ha ha, what a joke. Come, if you, Lin Muyu, are a legend and hero of humanity, then let me, Ji Luo, end this legend. He waved the long sword in his hand, and an earth-shattering purple lightning struck. The purple lightning formed a huge disc that crushed down, as if it was going to crush Lin Muyu's entire body in an instant. Be careful! Qin Yin's delicate body suddenly trembled. She opened her palms, and the true dragon god-binding chains flew up. Her elegant robes fluttered in the wind as she flew close to the ground. She launched a surprise attack with the 4th style of the Dragon Slayer incantation, Golden Dragon Flames, in her palm. At the same time, Tang Xiaoxi also did not hesitate to transform into her 9-tailed fairy fox form. Her 9 flaming tails danced in the air as she charged forward with the fire god seal in her hand. The seal's light soared into the sky, and it was unknown how much power was hidden in her petite body. Don't come over! Lin Muyu suddenly opened her hand, and flames surged in her palm. The 7 glorious stars transformation that had already been formed instantly dissipated, and was replaced by the technique of using fire to control the sword. The corner of his mouth curved in a smile. In the distance, there was an almost inaudible whistling sound. It was the demon noise saber. What? Ji Luo, who had been concentrating on the purple thunder apocalypse, suddenly trembled. A gust of air attacked him from the void, and he hurriedly used his remaining strength to block it. However, he did not expect that he would not be able to block it at all. The invisible saber pierced through the imprisonment of the Grandmaster demonic energy with a whoosh, aiming directly for his neck. Even though Ji Luo had been through hundreds of battles, he had never seen such a strange attack method. He hurriedly tilted his head backwards in an attempt to dodge this attack. Who would have thought that Lin Muyu would open her palm and lightly clench it? The flying demon noise saber immediately changed its trajectory and flew past Ji Luo's throat with a piu sound. Blood splattered as the sharp blade cut open Ji Luo's throat. Blood gushed out, and Ji Luo hurriedly withdrew his arms. The purple thunder apocalypse in the air also dissipated like the 7 glorious stars transformation. Pa! Lin Muyu caught the returning demon noise saber and gently put it back into the saber pouch at her waist. Her eyes were calm as she looked at Ji Luo without saying a word. This demon, whose cultivation was higher than hers, had died humbly under a hidden weapon attack. You! Ji Luo spat out a mouthful of blood as he desperately clutched his neck. Blood seeped through the gaps between his fingers. His voice was somewhat muffled, filled with disbelief and anger. Despicable beast. You actually used a hidden weapon to attack me, you? Lin Muyu said lightly. The demon race schemed to get out of the Heaven's Bridge Gorge and ambushed Winter Frost City without us knowing, killing 100,000 members of my Yangwei Legion. Are you not despicable? You! Ji Luo's eyes were bloodshot as he took a few steps back. He could no longer even hold the sword in his hand. As his life energy drained away, the magic battle chi whirlpool in his energy slowly flew up and condensed into a small demon spirit orb. But with a pa sound, Ji Luo forcibly grabbed the demon spirit orb that leaked out of his body. His face was twisted and hideous as he laughed. I heard that human cultivators can refine the demon spirit orb of a high-level celestial race and turn their divine power into their own. But I, Ji Luo, will not give my demon spirit orb to you even if I have to destroy it. Ha 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 ha. Ji Luo laughed maniacally as he gathered the last of his strength. The demon spirit orb in his hand crackled with lightning. The lightning flashed at an unprecedented speed. The surrounding air surged, blowing dirt, leaves, and rocks in all directions. Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi could barely open their eyes. They could only watch as this high-level demon self-destructed. Wang Wang. At this moment, the biting cold lightning from the demon spirit orb began to devour Ji Luo's body. His clothes, skin, muscles, and everything else turned to ash under the lightning. The hand holding the demon spirit orb also began to crumble. At this moment, several objects hidden in the cloth bag in front of his chest let out a shrill sound. They turned fiery red, as if they were about to explode at any moment. What's that? Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. Lin Muyu hurriedly shouted, Both of you, get behind me and upgrade your battle armor to its strongest state, men. The two girls appeared behind Lin Muyu while he held the dragon spirit sword horizontally in front of his chest. The walls of the golden gourd flew up with a hum and expanded, protecting him and the two girls behind him. At the same time, the power of the stars circulated and quickly condensed into the star lotus armor, adding another layer of protection. Just as Lin Muyu finished all this, the thing hidden in Ji Luo's chest suddenly exploded. Boom! The force of the attack was overwhelming. With just one attack, Lin Muyu's gourd wall was shattered into pieces. Following that was the Star Lotus armor. Amidst the violent impact, the Star Lotus armor was destroyed like rotten wood. Only the heavens knew what was inside Ji Luo's chest that could cause such a powerful explosion. A huge azure mushroom cloud rose from the mountain, the shockwaves surging in all directions. Lin Muyu bore the brunt of the attack. The dragon spirit sword in her hand let out an angry roar. The holy beast soul had decided to protect its master. The dragon snake beast soul roared and stood in front of its master to take the brunt of the impact. However, The dragon snake beast soul let out a miserable howl as it was destroyed in another wave of explosion. There was even a loud clang. A terrifying scene unfolded. The dragon spirit sword, a 4th grade holy rank long sword, was actually destroyed, shattering into crystal fragments. However, it was also the dragon spirit sword that allowed Lin Muyu to escape death. With Ji Luo as the core, the shockwave from the explosion struck 3 times in a row, causing a fatal impact to everything within a 50-meter radius. Towering trees were turned to dust, and even rocks were turned to stone dust. The ground was also blasted into a crater several meters deep. Ugh! The blood in Lin Muyu's body churned. She finally couldn't help but kneel on the ground and spit out a mouthful of blood. You! Mu! Qin Yin and Tang Xiaoxi supported her from both sides. I'm fine. Lin Muyu shook her head, desperately using her battle chi to stabilize the surging blood energy in her body. Help me over, I want to see just what kind of thing could cause such an explosion. Even Ji Luo shouldn't have this kind of ability. Okay. The 2 girls supported Lin Muyu and walked over. They stepped into the deep crater, only to find that Ji Luo's body had already been reduced to ashes. The divine weapon lay quietly on the ground, undamaged. There were words engraved on the blade Xingchen. It was written in clerical script, but it seemed to be slightly different from the Sword Elder's Xingchen sword. Lin Muyu gently lowered her body and grasped the hilt of the Xingchen sword. Immediately, a familiar aura flowed into her body and seemed to form a sound in her ihai. Her knees buckled and she knelt in front of the Xingchen sword. Tears flowed from her eyes and she began to cry bitterly. This is... Qin Yin said softly. Lin Muyu's tears spilled into the soil. She closed her eyes and sobbed in a low voice. This group of bastards. They recast the Xingchen sword and refined the Sword Elder's soul into the sword spirit. Bastards. Bastards. Tang Xiaoxi's body trembled. She also knew about the Sword Elder and walked forward. Her small hand supported Lin Muyu's shoulder and comforted. Mu. You killed Ji Luo and took revenge for the Sword Elder. No. Lin Muyu's eyes were unprecedentedly fierce. She said sternly, I will definitely investigate this. No matter who recast this sword, I will not let them reincarnate. And at this time, Qin Yin found a small piece of something in the ruins of the pit. She raised her hand and said, Look at this. And Lin Muyu calmed her chaotic emotions and walked forward to take a look. She found that Qin Yin was holding a round ornament that seemed very familiar. What is this? I remember this. Tang Xiaoxi reached into her bosom and took out a crystal coin. It glowed faintly under the moonlight. It was a magic crystal coin of the demon race. This round steel ornament was the ornament around the magic crystal coin. Lin Muyu took the coin and carefully felt it in her hand. She said, That's right. It was this thing that caused the explosion. Magic crystal. Qin Yin's mouth opened and closed. She murmured, The explosive power of a magic crystal is so terrifying. Chapter 462. Holding the Star Sword. A faint echo came from the sword. It seemed that the Sword Elder's spirit had recognized Lin Muyu. However, he could not speak and would never speak. Holding the sword tightly in her arms, Lin Muyu murmured with tears in her eyes, Sword Elder, I will avenge you. In the meantime, fight side by side with me. As she spoke, she put the star sword back into its scabbard. It actually fit perfectly with the dragon spirit sword's scabbard. Fortunately, the dragon spirit sword had been destroyed, and Lin Muyu had an even more powerful sword. Lulu's voice came from Ihai. Brother, according to my estimation, this star sword was recast with the spiritual power of the stars in the myriad world. With the addition of the Sword Elder's unyielding spirit, it has broken through the saint rank and reached the level of a demigod weapon. However, the sharpest weapon in the Shattered Cauldron realm is the first rank of the saint rank. There is no such thing as a demigod weapon, so there is no way to specifically classify the star sword. Then don't classify it. Lin Muyu smiled sadly and said, "Sometimes, the rank is not important." Lulu was just an intelligent AI and did not understand the emotional changes of Lin Muyu. She said, "Okay, brother. If you need Lulu, just call me." At this moment, in the night, a roar came from the west of the cloud ridge. At the same time, through the spiritual pulse technique, one could feel a tyrannical aura rapidly approaching. This aura was very familiar. Lin Muyu could not help but sharpen her eyes and said, "Xiao Yin, Xiao Shi. The demon race is here. It's the armored demon army." Armored demon? Qin Yin was stunned. Why would the armored demon come to the Heaven's Pivot Province? It's hard to say. Tang Xiaoxi said, "The Heaven's Pivot Province and the southern border of the Tongtian Province are only separated by a cloud ridge. Although most of the cloud ridge is a steep cliff, there are still some small paths. At least it is not difficult for small groups of armor demons to come here." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded. "About 700 or 800 armor demons are coming. They must be coming for the Star Sword and Tao Wu. Let's hide first. My chi was seriously damaged just now, so I can't fight the demon race head-on." "Well, I'll carry you." Qin Yin wrapped Lin Muyu's arms around her slender, snow-white neck and jumped dozens of meters away. Lin Muyu gave a wry smile and hugged Qin Yin tightly in her arms. Under the moonlight, feeling Lin Muyu's movement, Qin Yin could not help blushing and blushing. After a few more ups and downs, she took Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi to hide behind a shrub. Behind them was a steep cliff. Even if the demon race came, they would not notice them. Sitting quietly behind the bushes, Lin Muyu had an incomparably wide field of vision. She was constantly healing her internal injuries with her combat energy circulation while staring at the battlefield in the distance. Although this antiquity spiritual beast was covered in wounds, it was not dead yet. The people of Ice Extreme Sect and Giant Rock Sect were still fighting bitterly. Moreover, they were not the only ones. The Pavilion of Chivalry from the South Ridge had also made a move. Approximately 1,000 people from the Pavilion of Chivalry were lying dormant in the southern part of the forest. Not only that, there was also an army. That's right, it was the Imperial Army. There were about 2,000 of them, and they all wore the purple Yinghua emblem. They were from the inner Qi County of Heaven's Pivot Province. The leader was a deputy Chiliarch. He held a long saber in his hand and led his men to hide in the forest. Looking at the raging flames and the battlefield in the forest from afar, he could not help but sneer. These cultivators really don't want to live. They even dare to challenge such a terrifying spiritual beast. Beside him, a counselor with a mustache said with a smile, "General Yuan, we have 2,000 people here this time, plus 2 arrow boxes and steel arrows tempered with white diamond that were secretly transported from Lanyan City. We don't have to rush. As long as we wait for these practitioners to die, we can kill this huge beast with 1 round of arrows from the arrow boxes. At that time he, a 400-year-old Tao Wu, as long as we bring its head to Lanyan City to ask for a reward, it will be enough for a general to be promoted by 3 levels and become a national general. Maybe we can even become a commander." The lieutenant general could not help but smile, his eyes full of pride. He said, "Don't worry, Counselor Zhou. If I, Yuan Zhu, can become a national general, I will definitely recommend you to be a military counselor of Zetian Palace and become a popular man around His Highness. Then, thank you very much for your kindness, General Yuan." In a short period of time, more than 20,000 people had hidden in this forest. They couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The charm of the stellar sword had actually reached such a level. Now that the stellar sword had disappeared from everyone's sight, it seemed that everyone could only lock their target on the ancient vicious beast Swan and I. Everyone wanted to plunder the Swan Knee's spirit stones. Everyone wanted to obtain even an inch of Swan Knee's fur. That would be enough for them to show off to their descendants for a lifetime. Moreover, the Empire revered martial arts. With the spirit stones of a 400-year-old Swan and I, they could indeed exchange not only for fame and fortune, but also for a lifetime of glory. Behind the bushes, Qin Yin widely opened her beautiful eyes and said, "There's an army of the Empire over there. I don't know whose army they are. Should we inform them that the demons are coming? It's too late. Lin Muyu pointed at the dark shadows running across the mountain under the starlight and said, "If I'm right, the target of these armor demons is Tao Wu or Star's sword. It's meaningless for them to kill 1,000 or 2,000 more soldiers of the Empire. It seems that the demons have arranged a lot of spies in Heaven's Pivot Province. Otherwise, they wouldn't have sent the Armor Demon Legion here so quickly." "Then what should we do now?" Qin Yin asked worriedly. "Don't worry. The officers of the Empire are not fools," Lin Muyu said in a low voice. "As long as they are not fools, they will wait until Tao Wu falls down. That's enough for them to escape." "Yes." Lin Muyu looked at the battle in the distance and said, "The people of the Chivalry School are also here. They're all Qin Yi's men from Lingnan. I don't know what they're planning. If Tao Wu really falls down, Shaoyin will kill our way there and snatch Tao Wu's spiritual stones from the Chivalry School. By the way, apart from spiritual stones, what else is valuable on Tao Wu?" Qin Yin pouted. "You're still thinking about money." Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but smile. She patted Lin Muyu's shoulder and said, "Mu, I told you to read more, but you just wouldn't listen. It's obvious that you didn't carefully study Chu's Book of 10,000 Beasts when you were training with him. The Book of 10,000 Beasts clearly recorded that Tao Wu's entire body is a treasure. Tao Wu's horn, when ground into powder, is an excellent healing medicine. Its fur is hard and resistant to water and fire, making it a treasure for making leather armors. Tao Wu's bones can also be used as medicine. In addition, Tao Wu's meat contains excellent spiritual energy. Practitioners who eat Tao Wu's meat can improve their cultivation. Also, Tao Wu's tail is said to be condensed from the heavenly realm's divine metal. For someone like you who knows how to forge weapons, this kind of divine metal should be a dream." "I see." Lin Muyu smiled. "If that's the case, then we're determined to get this by an. You too can eat the meat, but the divine metal in its tail is mine." Qin Yin smiled with her dimples. "Tao Wu's body is so huge, its meat is enough for many people to eat. Xiao Shi and I can't finish it. And, be careful, the demons are about to enter the battlefield." "Yes?" Lin Muyu tried his best to circulate his energy to calm the surging blood in his body. He did not want to watch the human cultivators around by and being slaughtered like this. Roar, roar, roar. The roars of the armor demons mixed with the roars of Lao Ai, but the practitioners around Lao Ai didn't notice it at all. Only when an armor demon's spear pierced through the chest of a hall leader with a puff sound did they realize it. "What's that?" The leader of Giant Rock Sect, Ouyang Qing, looked angrily at the black mass of things behind him, but the other party didn't answer him. Instead, they rushed past him while roaring. The pitiful disciples of Giant Rock Sect were massacred in the blink of an eye. Ouyang Qing roared and activated his rock strength. After killing 3 armor demons, he was hit by a heavy hammer and fell into the messy grass, spitting blood. "The demons are here! The demons are here!" No one knew who shouted, but the surrounding cultivators all panicked. No one was stupid, and no one was willing to deal with Tao Wu at this time. One by one, they turned around and ran. Tao Wu roared angrily, and a huge flaming palm fell into the group of armor demons, directly trampling several armor demons to death. Another sharp claw swept out, and 2 armor demons were smashed into pieces. Even the powerful demons seemed so humble in front of an ancient spiritual beast. Thus, Tao Wu wantonly slaughtered without distinguishing between friend and foe, while the demons chased after the cultivators. If there were no surprises, this group of armor demons was summoned by Zhiluo. Unfortunately, before the armor demons arrived, Zhiluo was defeated by Lin Muyu and self-destructed. As a result, this group of armor demons was like a dragon without a leader, and with their low intelligence, they became the shit-stirrers of this forest. However, this also made Lin Muyu feel relieved. As long as the number of armor demons was exhausted, then they only needed to be careful when dealing with the human cultivators. No one knew how terrifying the human heart was. Perhaps some people would not hesitate to commit regicide for the sake of a Tao Wu's spiritual stone. After all, in this world, the heavens and earth were important, the king was important, and so was their conscience. But none of them were as important as one's own wealth. If one did not look out for oneself, heaven and earth would destroy them. No matter which plane one was in, this was an iron law. Lao Ai's body was already covered in flames, burning wherever he went. It was late autumn, so the withered leaves in the forest were ignited, burning all over the mountains and plains. Many people with low cultivation bases ran away. In fact, their own lives were more important. Don't run, get into formation. Su Yi, the head of the Ice Extreme sect, shouted, holding his blood-stained sword, Ice Spiral Formation. Block these demons for me. Kill them all. Damn it. I don't believe that these lowly beasts dare to abuse their power in the territory of our empire. A group of Ice Extreme sect disciples held their swords in front of their chests, forming a formation. Streams of ice energy enshrouded the formation. Lin Muyu could clearly feel that the so-called ice spiral array was a kind of array that allowed energy to be exchanged and complemented each other. Moreover, these people all cultivated the law of ice. Hence, under the principle that 11 was greater than 2, this array was able to gather all the energy together, making it extremely powerful. Draw your swords, Sui shouted. The 3 disciples in front of the array formation waved their swords together. Hua hua hua. 3 mysterious ice sword chis sprayed out, directly bombarding dozens of armor demons into ice cubes, causing them to shatter and die. Powerful. If all human cultivators could serve the Empire, then the Empire's army would probably defeat the demon race soon. As Lin Muyu thought to herself, she could not help but shake her head with a self-deprecating smile. These cultivators claimed to be otherworldly experts, and their only goal was to cultivate and ascend to godhood. Why would they be willing to join the Empire's army and participate in this secular war? The aura in his body gradually calmed down. He raised his hand to grasp the star, slowly pulled it out, and said, Shao Yin, Shao Shi, let's get ready. Tao Wu has killed so many people, his spiritual power is almost exhausted. Yes. The 2 beauties nodded obediently. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.